and I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, Goose County. Hello, Oregon. And hello, America and beyond. I want to thank everyone who's joining me today. It's going to be a beautiful day. It has been a beautiful day here on the southern coast of Oregon, and we are going to continue bringing forward a lot of the things that are happening here on the southern coast of Oregon, because there's a lot happening. You would be amazed that in this little area here in this nation, this big, beautiful nation, but here in this little area on the southern coast of Oregon, there's still quite a few things that are happening. It's that intersectionalism that's going on. I don't even know if that's a word now. If it isn't, I coin it. And so we're going to be talking about some of the things where local politics and national politics intersect, because what happens here in Oregon, because we are the subjects test state for this Marxist takeover that's happening in America. Whatever's happening in any red state, well, you can see what's happening in Oregon. You can look what's happening in Oregon, and that's coming to your state. That's coming your way. Don't worry, it'll be there soon. And so people, I've talked to people who've said, you know what, why are you doing a show on local issues when there is so much national news going on? And there is a lot of things going on in the nation, and we will be talking about some of those things. But like I said, what happens here in Oregon is going to flow eastward towards the East Coast and affect a lot of Midwesterners out there who just don't know what the hell's going on. And there are a lot of people who are not awake. In fact, we went to the Bay Area Fun Fest, not the Bay Area Fun Fest, that's what's coming up. We went into the Bandon Cranberry Festival, which was a really good time. We got to talk to some people, and I'm going to play a video of what we did down at the Bandon Fest. It's about a 25-minute video, but it's pretty good because we talked to several people. There were a few people who were opposed or who were for the windmills, the wind turbines. I shouldn't call them windmills because windmills actually serve a purpose. Wind turbines, just depending on who's doing it and who's paying for it, depends on whether they're actually viable or not. I don't know. I don't think that these huge arrays, these huge wind turbine arrays are viable at all, whether they are on the ocean, whether they are on land. It just doesn't matter. And so we went to the Cranberry Fest, which was a great time. I mean, it was pretty big. They had it in two sections. They had food courts and vendors up by the library, and they had the car show on a field, the baseball field across from the library on the other side of the park, which was a really good place to do that car show, because the year before, I believe they did it in that little parking lot by the park, and you couldn't fit all those cars in there. And they've got some really nice cars that showed up to that car show, and you'll get to see that on this video coming up. So that's something that's going to be happening. I do believe I was waiting for Matt Holman from 3H Tree Service to contact me. We are supposed to play another game of Where's 3H Tree Service, but he hasn't contacted me, and I don't know what's going on with that yet. And that's kind of the hard thing about coordinating all this stuff. And that's the wonderful thing about live TV. You don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what the hell's going to happen. So it's a good thing that we do it live, because that's the way I like to and to get it to the people. Raw is good. Raw is better. Unless we're talking about sex, then always wear a condom. Maybe wear two, and that way, if you want to have a wild time, take one off. Uh, we are going to also be talking to a candidate. There's a candidate running for the City Council of Roseburg, and Roseburg is one of those places that's slowly turning more and more liberal. I mean, the Republicans there, many of them are very liberal. If you noticed how they're voting, I mean, I think Virgil Osborne is probably one of the better Republicans as far as voting. I've had personal issues with Virgil Osborne, and not anything that would was too bad. But Virgil is someone who does have a really good voting record, and I have to give him credit on that. Give credit where credit's due. But a lot of the Republicans of Douglas County, well, they're squishy. They're really squishy. They're like a gummy bear on a hot day sitting on the sidewalk. You know what I'm saying? That kind of squishy. That kind of squishy. The kind of squishy that's going to stick to the bottom of your foot, and you're not going to appreciate the rest of the day. But he's one of the better ones when it comes to his voting record. But we have a candidate that's running for the Roseburg City Council who is a really good conservative Republican who I think can do a really good job. And we're going to be talking to him in the second hour, and that's Steve Hammerson. One really good guy. He's a friend of mine, and he helped us. No, he was very much instrumental in pulling off that Todd Vaughn campaign that we just did during the primary. And that was a blast. That's always fun. That was probably one of the funnest campaigns I had worked on in a long time. And this new campaign that I got going on, Breaking Wind, the Breaking Wind campaign, where we're going to break the wind turbine energy companies. Yeah, we plan on doing that. And we're going to do this. We're going to be successful. I have no doubt about it. And we're going to talk more about that, because that was what the subject was when we were walking around the Cranberry Fest talking to people who showed up to that event. But we're going to get Steve Hammerson on here. We'll get his opinion on wind turbines. We'll see what he thinks. Maybe he would like to have one in his yard. I don't know. But we would be more than happy to have candidates who want to come on the show. If you want to come on the show, maybe we'll get Samantha Frost back on the show. That was a great interview. And she just left a comment here. This is a good comment. She says, Virgil is still a deep state tool that lied about Dr. Frank and thinks that he is God because he is part of the legislature. And he is part of the legislature. You put legislator, but that's okay. Same difference. And so he is part of the legislature, and he is in the deep state of Douglas County, and he did sign a letter going after the Roseburg Six, which ironically, the guest in the second hour I'm having on the show, Steve Hammerson, he was one of the Roseburg Six, and we'll talk to him a little bit about that. I don't want to dwell on that, because inter-party politics is not something that should be too much of a consideration when you're talking about running for a city council and the overall duties that a city councilor would perform in their position. And there's a lot of reasons for that, because you might not like somebody in the party, but they might be a good conservative. There are a few of them. There are people, well, Virgil Osborne. It's not that I don't like him. It's that I've had personal problems with him, and he is someone who has a better voting record in the legislature. So I can at least appreciate that and give him that credit. But you're right, Samantha. He is deep state. And Samantha, we'll get you back on the show again, because I know she's running for county clerk, and there's a lot of issues going on over in Douglas County, and we will have to dive into that. There's a lot of things going on everywhere, and like I said, it's if you're watching this show and you're thinking, why are you talking about that little old county in Southern Oregon? And I tried to cover the Tri-County area, Curry, Coos, and Douglas, and it's trying to keep up with everything is just incredibly impossible. I forgot what happened at the Coos Bay City Council meeting a couple of days ago. That was very interesting, and now I can't even think of what it has to deal with. But there's a lot of issues going on. But I have had several people come up to me in the last couple of days. In fact, I had a good friend of mine call me this morning and tell me that they know there are ships out there that are mapping the ocean for those call areas. They're getting ready to put those call areas out for lease. And they are doing some work out there. They've brought in people from Louisiana. They've got a boat out there. I don't know the name of the boat. If you can get me a picture of that boat, you can give me a name of that boat, I'd appreciate that. I would definitely put that picture up on the screen here, because, well, we need to know who these people are, who they are coming into our county, messing with our waters. And it is our waters. It affects us directly. I don't know what the hell they're doing in Louisiana, but I wouldn't be over there messing with their waters the same way that they've got people over here messing with ours. And so I want to find out who these people are, which company they might belong to, if they work for the US government, whatever, if they're contractors. I just want to find out who these people are. And I want to expose them for continuing to do what I think the people don't want them to do. I think most of the people are opposed to this wind turbine project. And that's the feeling I got when I went out to, when we went out, there was about a dozen of us, went out to the Cranberry Festival, and we were in the parade. Several vehicles, there was like 3 vehicles that had our signs on the vehicles opposing this wind turbine project. And we had Danessa Rain's vehicle out there, and I should have got pictures of that. I should have got video of that, but I didn't. My fault, my mistake, and I regret that. But she had a really cool statue in the back of her truck. It's a metal statue, and it was it's a huge elephant that's painted red. It has this beautiful black eyes. It's a great looking rendition of what the Republicans, or what the logo of the Republicans should actually look like. You know what I mean? I mean, some of these Republican elephants, they look like circus elephants. They got clowns leading them around, training them to sit and stand and eat and do little tricks. And that really does represent some of the Republicans out there today. There are a lot of Republicans who, for lack of a better word, well, they're part of the deep state. They're part of the establishment. They're part of the people who are part of the problem. And we need to get rid of those Republicans, but not this elephant that's in the back of Danessa's truck. That's a strong looking elephant. That's a really nice looking elephant. And so it ought to be really interesting next week, because we are going to the Bay Area Fun Festival, and the Bay Area Fun Festival is going to be happening next week. The parade is at 1:00. We're not supposed to throw candy out in this parade. We can only hand the candy out. And you know what that means? You know what that means? One of us is going to have to get out of the damn vehicle and walk the parade route. So I don't know. We're a bunch of geriatrics at this point, and so I don't know if we're going to make it out there to hand out candy, but we're going to give it our best shot. But we will be out there next week. And if you want to get a new sign, because we got some new signs for the campaign, we had a couple of new signs made up, and I'm going to be picking those signs up, in fact. And here's one of those signs, the yes on 6219. And remember, yes means no on this vote. So if you are opposed to the wind turbines, you got to vote yes to stop the offshore development. And that's what this sign right here represents. It says yes on 6219. Remember that 6219, that's the measure number here in Coos County. And you got to vote yes, because that means no. Vote yes to stop the offshore wind turbines. And at the bottom of that sign, if you notice, there's this website, OAWT, that stands for Oregonians Against Wind Turbines. We've got a donation page up now, and we need money to get this information out to the general public. We need donations, and we're going to use that on advertising, whether it be print advertising in the local newspapers or like the news break. We are going to advertise in those type of things. We want to, if we get enough money, we're going to do advertisements on TV. We've already got the advertisements made. we're ready to go. We just don't have the funding to do it. And it's really, politics runs on money. And I'm not one who likes to ask for money, but I'm not asking for myself. This is something that helps everyone overall, because I think it helps if we win this campaign. If we get a 70% turnout with a 72 to 75% of the people saying hell no to these wind turbines, it's going to send one heck of a message. And I know that because there is a national group who wants us inside their group because they think we are paving a new path for fighting against these wind farms. And we are, for historical vote. This is going to be a historical vote. And so I highly recommend it. This is historic because Coos and Curry County, and here's the sign for Curry County. Their measure number is 8116. And once again, yes means no in Curry County too. And so you have to vote yes to stop the offshore wind turbines. But we want to get that message out, and it's hard to get that message out because, well, we ain't got the money. We ain't related to Elon Musk. I mean, and Trump, he's not an uncle of mine. So unfortunately, because, that's how the world works, don't fool yourself. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because people who really want issues to be heard, want issues to be promoted so that people know what's going on, people will give to those campaigns. And I've got a feeling we're going to get a few really good donations, and we're going to put it on the radio station as well. We've already got a donor who's going to put a month's worth of advertising on the Legend radio station, which is really cool. So we're working on a lot of things, but we need help, folks. We need help. And you could join us at the Fun Fest next week if you would like. If you want a sign, show up and we'll give you a sign. We're going to give it to you with an H stake so you can hang it up in your front yard. And we encourage people to get these signs because this is one of the few ways that we have of getting that word out. So that's just some of the things that is going to be occurring, in the next couple of weeks. And it's going to keep going until the election in November 5th. And we'll find out truly what the voters believe. I think the voters are going to be on our side. And that's why I want to make sure that we have put out as much news as we can about that. So I got a film for you, and I'm going to play it for you now because it's a long one, but it's well worth it. It's very well worth it. And this is a video that I shot. It was me and Marty. We were at the Cranberry Fest. We were there with Diane Rich, Danessa Rains, Carol Yardley. She's a school board member over in North Bend. Her husband, Elmer. We had several of our friends with us, and I want to thank every single one of them for showing up. It really helps out. It helps it makes it look like it's an active campaign. I've been on campaigns where it's been me and one other person every single time. But a little bit later, after the parade, me and Marty walked around and we interviewed a few people. And this video that I'm going to play for you will give you an idea of, well, what the response is in the public. And I know I've done outdoor videos, and the audio quality on it, well, it sucks. Let's face it. And so this was going to be a little bit better because I got new mics. I got those lavaliers that you pin to your shirt. And so I'm able to use that as a microphone as well. And it picked up people's voices much better than just having the phone. And so I'm going to be doing that more often, getting those outside interviews so I can play that for you guys, because, we're activists and we are active all the time. And I'm going to do that when I go out to the rallies and other events that we're going to have. And politics never ends. Politics is a part of your life, and it's worse now than ever before because politics is in every aspect of your life and you have to be involved. So this is what we did, and I will show you in this video. And I think you're going to be, pleasantly surprised on how most of the people in there were opposed to these wind turbines. And I'm going to play that for you. And let me take myself off the screen. There we go. And let's get this bad boy started.
Look at this. This is cool.
Wow, huge Jenga.
That's a big Jenga.
Wow, good play.
That's a nice Jenga.
You know, there's absolutely no support for these things.
We haven't found anybody
City
yet.
Council, Curry County Commissioners are to the right of Adolf Hitler, you know, in certain areas. You know,
Yeah.
they're against it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking really conservative.
And that's kind of what we're working on. That's why we were doing it.
Just because they're changing the rules when it comes to water, hydrological power. Like I know they took out the Klamath dams, but are they even thinking about taking out the dams in the Columbia River?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
We're going to start that over again.
Look at this. This is cool.
Wow, huge Jenga.
That's a big Jenga.
Wow, good play.
That's a nice Jenga.
You know, there's absolutely no support for these things.
We haven't found anybody
City
yet.
Council, Curry County Commissioners are to the right of Adolf Hitler, you know, in certain areas. You know,
Yeah.
they're against it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking really conservative people.
Yeah, we went to the Curry County Commissioners meeting, and we talked to them, and I fully expected them to go, yeah, green energy, good, get out of here. And they all three of them agreed, and I was like, hold on, what? I mean,
It's on the ballot too.
Yeah.
And Coos County, it's on the ballot.
Right.
Yeah, but it's not in the voters pamphlet.
Right.
Because the clerk did a really annoying thing, in that they changed the deadline for when you had to submit stuff for the voters pamphlet. So Curry County and Coos County, we all worked together to get this on the ballot. And so we're all writing the same stuff at the same time and turning it in at the same time.
Curry County said, yeah, that's great. And matter of fact, we're going to waive the fees for your argument against, and we're going to waive the fees for everybody else that does arguments against. And we turned ours in and they said, oh, I'm sorry, the deadline was yesterday, so we're not going to put it in the voters pamphlet. I'm going, what do you mean the deadline is yesterday? The state deadline says the 27th. They said, yeah, but the county has a different deadline, which was the 22nd. And that's because of Article 8 of the county code, which was written by the election board, which no longer exists. So
So you're not for them.
you're not for the windmills, I'm guessing.
We're against
Yeah, exactly.
Me too. I am too.
In particular,
Yeah.
our fishing community is the main economic driver
Oh, it's a microphone.
Oh, it's my fault.
Yeah.
in Port Orford. And so
Yeah,
we
and
have
if they
like
take
50 or
away
60 fishing boats. I don't
fishing
want
and
anything that
tourism,
interferes with
we
that.
have nothing.
No,
left.
not at all.
Exactly.
I don't. I mean, and I don't know why
Yeah.
it's
So it's on both ballots in Curry County and Coos County.
Only.
Curry County is actually in the voters pamphlet explaining
Well,
why
and they
we're
keep telling
against it.
everyone everywhere else that we're for
Yeah.
this.
Well, they actually sent them out for
So
the
these
military
wanted to get on the
overseas.
ballot.
So that's how I know it's not in our voter pamphlet.
It's on the ballot in Kearney and it gets slaughtered because when the free conservative commissioners are even against it,
Yeah.
Right.
you know,
Right.
Yeah, but the
Fishing
people
community.
don't want it.
the Indian
Yeah.
tribes are against it.
And we actually got all three of the commissioners in Coos County to agree to put it on the ballot as well, because we only needed 2 out of 3. It's an advisory measure. It doesn't change any rules. It just asks everybody's opinion.
Well, that's good because then when the votes are counted, they can go to the federal government and say, look,
We
we
don't
voted
want
here.
this.
This is what the people
Yeah.
voted.
There's 50,000 people in the county that were sent ballots, and 49,000 of them said, get the wind turbines out of here. I think it sends a really strong message.
I think so too.
And that's kind of what we're working on. That's why we were doing it.
Just because I think changing the rules when it comes to water, hydrological power. Like I know they took out the Klamath dams, but are they even thinking about taking out the dams in the Columbia River?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. No, but if these things made sense, then we wouldn't be arguing about them. But the fact that they just kind of gloss over the
Yeah,
fact that
they're just-
we're taking out all these dams, and yeah, that was real green energy, and we want to save the salmon. Oh, and by the way, taking this dam killed all the salmon and all the smelt and all the elk and all the deer and all the other stuff downstream from where the dam used to be. But I guess they don't count.
Yeah, that's what they did in Klamath when they took out
Yeah, when they took out the Klamath.
everything in the river. It was
They just took out the last dam like a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
Right there, there's 4 dams. They just took the last 2 out.
The government's our worst enemy, really.
oh yeah,
they definitely are.
yeah. They're no longer.
Disappointing.
They're not for the people. They're against the people.
They should know better.
I don't think it's going to happen. They really are. There's too much opposition.
I think so too. I agree with you. I think we can stop this, and I think it will be a win for the entire nation because people will go, look, those 2 little counties in Oregon said, screw you, did something about it.
Is
Yeah.
Tom Norty voting on it too?
I have no idea.
Oh no, I only get to Curry and Coos County. I don't go
I
very
know.
far.
It's still over 120 or 30 miles of coastline.
Yeah.
This Curry's got 80.
Right.
And Coos has got at least 50 or 60 or more.
Huge, yeah.
It's a third of the Oregon coast. at least.
Right. Oh, totally. At least a third.
Good luck.
Well, thank you.
You're great. I
You
appreciate
guys
it.
take care. You folks. Stop Gorse.
Other places. Oh, that's right. No wind turbines.
Yep. No wind turbines.
You on that one.
Yeah, some people were down at Lower 4 Mile degorsing the other day,
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah.
south of town here.
Okay, great. Yes. Well, I know it's not me, but personally, but somebody was degorsing on Cut Creek.
Okay. Yeah, because when Bandon Biota, Bandon Dunes, bought up all that land by Lower 4 Mile, they actually went in with macerators and cut everything down to the ground. And this year they're going in and herbiciding it
Oh, good. Yes.
to,
yes.
to keep it from reemerging. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, would you like a magnet and a sticker?
Oh, sure. Why not? I'm a
I will take a magnet.
yeah.
Thank you. Let's ask these people. Are you for or against the wind turbines?
You
Have
know
heard
what?
about this?
I have not done enough research on it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we got this on the ballot. It's going to be, you live here in Coos County?
I do. I live right there.
this is cool because this is going to be on the ballot, and they're asking people whether they want this huge project or not. And we're opposed to it.
Can you tell me why you're opposed to it?
Yeah, I'm opposed to it because number one, it's mostly subsidized by the U.S. government, and so as taxpayers are paying for it. I also think it's environmentally detrimental to the sea life and the ocean itself, and I also believe that the energy we're going to get off of it is going to be very expensive, and it's going to be detrimental to families who
Yeah.
are low income and in poverty level.
Yeah, it's
So
going. It's
energy prices will go up. The
Well,
turbines go up.
yeah, because well, first off, the really annoying thing is these wind turbines have never been done before offshore. They're 1,000 feet high with 300-foot long blades. They're anchored to the ocean floor, and there's going to be hundreds of them, and then they all come together into a substation, and then there's a huge power cable that goes to the shore. Once it gets to the shore, it's up to the power companies to put in the infrastructure to get it somewhere else. Who's paying for that?
And it's going to be eminent domain. You're going to have to take
So
land from somebody to place those power
So,
lines.
so you see the Bonneville lines like out there by Rosa Road, and you know, it like,
Rosé.
is it Rose?
Yeah.
It could be Rosa, but we
Okay,
If you say Rosa, yeah, you know.
I say Rosa, yeah, I say Rosa and 2 Mile and all that good stuff. So,
being from New Mexico, I got that immediately. It was, yeah.
but anyway,
But
so
that's why we're opposed to it.
Yeah.
And so we ask you
So
definitely.
you don't live here?
Oh, I live here.
Oh,
yes,
you're
I
from
live in
New
Bandon.
Mexico. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, I live in Bandon as well. So you know, it graduated high school here back when dinosaurs were young and you know, Earth was still cooling and all that good stuff. So you know, but no,
you
we're
say this is the first time they've ever done anything like this?
these types of wind turbines.
They're
Yeah.
the size of the Empire State Building. That's how tall they are.
Wow.
And each wing is the length of a football field. They create their own wakes. And for the one here in Coos County, or the one in Coos Bay, they're going to go out 30 miles. And in between that, they have to have a transfer station or a conversion station to convert it from AC to DC. And that's going to pull in water from the ocean to cool those lines, heats them up to 90 degrees. They add chemicals to it, and then they dump it into the ocean. So there's a lot of things that it's just not good about that. Plus, when it's sucking it up out of the ocean, it kills a lot of the larvae for different fish species.
Yeah, and they're in the process of leasing out the spaces now. But they said, well, you know what? We're not going to do any EPA stuff, and we're going to waive environmental impact studies. And it's like, hold on. There's migrating whales. There's migrating albatross. There's salmon fishing. There's, you know, crabs really love electric lines. As a matter of fact, they love them so much they stop eating and die.
Oh.
So it's going to kill crabbing. It's going to kill fishing. It's going to, you know, detriment the whales and the albatross and anything else that migrates. So salmon fishing is gone. And since these things are anchored with huge long cables, what do the trawling fish boats do?
Are these different from what they have off of like the East Coast?
Yes.
Oh, the ones that are breaking on the East Coast?
Yeah,
There's some similarities, but these are larger and not done before. Yeah.
And they're in 4,000 feet of water compared to the ones off the coast, East Coast, are in a couple of 100 feet of water. So there's a huge difference in that alone. This is all experimental.
Yeah.
And they're not even trying like one before they stick 262 of them out there. And we're like, yeah, I don't know.
And each one of those towers will be an individual LLC. So when the tower breaks or a blade breaks and it pollutes the ocean and anything happens, go ahead and sue the LLC that owned that one tower. But the rest of them can keep doing whatever they want to do. There is no downside. It's a fee and tariff system.
Yeah, and we're responsible. The taxpayer is responsible for the maintenance. And they've already had beaches closed down on the East Coast because they're made of fiberglass. And once they come crashing onto the shore,
Martha's Vineyard, that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all that fiberglass goes into the beach, and they have to take a long time to clean that up. It's really a mess. Which would kill tourism if it was a certain time of year. So, yeah, that's why we're fighting against this. So we hope.
Yeah, and
Well, thank you so much for the update.
No, but
Yeah, and we got-
someone in a tutu would be interesting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, you all take
All right. Thanks so much for your time. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. That could be a 182. Nice.
Yeah, that's nice. Remember, I tried to buy the ticket.
Oh, did you?
They do to get them to settle down so they can do their stamp. She will never take them from us. So usually when somebody else offers her one, she'll do that.
Wow, there's a lot of cars in the auto show this year. Maybe that's why they moved it over here. They didn't have enough room on
They
the other
didn't have
side.
enough room.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Oh, that is a beauty, that Bonneville. Ooh, damn.
Wow.
That's sweet. Car's older than I am.
That's same here. Howdy, howdy.
How you doing?
Doing great so far. Well, I hear it, but I don't see it.
That's the only windmill we need right here.
That's right. Well, let me ask you, since you're here, what do you think about the windmills?
Oh, there it is. It is a radial engine. What do you
Say
know?
that again?
I said, I think they suck.
No, not the windmills.
Oh,
You
no,
don't want
they
those.
blow.
Oh, they
Excuse me.
blow.
They blow.
That's
Yeah.
true, yeah.
We-
No, so you're not supporting this, are you?
No.
Okay, good.
I mean, they might be good somewhere, but not off our coast.
Yeah.
As far
I
as
mean,
I'm
you know.
concerned.
If it was a proven technology and there was some upside to this, I might be kind of for it, but I haven't seen an upside yet.
No. Not when they start coming apart.
Yeah.
Killing animals, starting fires with the blades. No.
Well, and they didn't check with the EPA and they won't do an environmental impact study. And I'm like, on what federal project ever has never had an environmental impact study or checked with the EPA?
So I was reading yesterday, there was an article out talking about the invasive species that collect on the base of these wind turbines, and eventually they'll kill off the other species, and the fish will, the native fish will eventually perish to these new species that are now attached to the wind turbines.
Not surprised.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
But somebody's going to make a lot of money on this.
Somebody.
It's just not going to be us.
And it's not me. I mean, yeah. Well, take care, man.
All right,
take
thanks.
care. Like the old trucks too.
Yeah.
You guys taking signatures or just?
Oh, it's already on the ballot.
Yeah.
Good, good.
So it's on the ballot in Coos County. Oh, he probably wants to talk to you because he's doing a
we're filming
podcast.
this. We're going around talking to people because a lot of people don't know this is even on the ballot. But there's an advisory question asking whether you want the commissioners to oppose this or not. So vote yes to oppose.
Yeah.
And so we're telling people, because most people don't want this, they're promising to bring in jobs, but the jobs they're bringing in are temporary from out of the area, and they're going to destroy our fishing industry.
commercial fish. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you?
For a living. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so it's
wow.
gonna
So
it's
you
gonna
have a vested interest in
That's why I
this.
was asking to get signatures.
yeah, no, we got it on the ballot, and then it's been on the ballot in Coos County and Curry County,
Okay.
and in both of them are vote yes to tell the commissioners to keep fighting windmills.
Okay, awesome.
And the nice thing is all 6 commissioners in both counties are totally against this.
Good.
So
Awesome. Good to
yeah,
hear.
we're
Yeah, we were really surprised that we got all 6 of them,
Yeah,
all
that's
3 in Coos, all 3 in Curry, because we knew in Coos County, we knew John Sweet was going to be. I don't normally like advisory measures because we shouldn't be asking the voters questions all the time. It's our job to do this kind of stuff. I said, no. The whole point of this is you send out 50,000 ballots, and if 48,000 people respond, and every single one of those 48,000 say, hell no, we don't want wind turbines, or yes, keep fighting the turbines, it sends a very strong message.
Yeah.
And we basically talked him into it because we knew Taylor and we knew Maine were going to go for it. And we only need 2 out of 3. So whether Sweet said yes or no was no big deal.
right.
But the fact that he basically just said, no, I agree with your argument.
Yeah.
I'm going to vote yes as well.
Good deal. Keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there's that plane again.
Oh, I know. I'm so jealous. I want to get back to flying.
Wow, it's got a rumble seat. Tumbling in the rumble seat.
Tumbling in the rumble seat. Yeah.
What do you think about the windmills? You totally against them? You need them?
My son, no.
No, she says she doesn't think they need them.
He said.
I'm just waiting for.
And I can't remember why. Has it been tried before out here at Bandon?
At the
Well,
dunes.
at the dunes, they had them on shore, and it worked out so poorly they turned it into a golf course.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's what that is. Yeah.
yeah, and so now these are going to be in what 4,000 feet of water,
30 miles off the coast, and
Thousand-
experimental. They
and
don't even know if these are going to work.
tall as the Empire State Building with blades the length of a football field. But it hasn't been done before. But trust us, everything's
What
fine.
could go wrong?
Oh, and by the way, they're not doing it.
They had them somewhere else in the ocean, and the subsonic noise from them, the fish wouldn't even come within miles.
Oh, yeah.
Sweden, they're having problems.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
They're having problems because now they've got dry zones where there are no fish.
So
Dead zones.
It's already a done deal, the leasing.
Oh, they're going to start leasing it. And so it's just, the whole idea with this advisory measure that's coming up in November, if you say yes, that means the commissioners should keep fighting against the turbines. But we also say, okay, there's 50,000 people that get sent ballots in Coos County. If 48,000 people return ballots and 47,000 of them say, screw you, wind turbines, then it sends a really strong message. And I think the people that are going to, yes, it's not going to be in the voters pamphlet because the county clerk screwed us once again, but you don't need to convince me of that one. But anyway, just thought we'd say hi. Hi. Well, I'm just annoyed by the fact that this one project, it's like, well, we're not consulting with the EPA and we're not going to ask them to do an environmental impact report. I'm going, so you don't care about, these are the people that are like, oh, we have to have green energy to save the world, except, the whale, the salmon, the whale, the salmon, the Dungeness crab, whatever. They can all die. We don't care.
Well, that's why we did the vote.
That's why we did the advisory measure.
They keep going back and telling everyone, oh, they support this in Southern Oregon. And it's like, no, we don't.
Yeah.
That's just like there's always trying to, we've said a number of times, no tax.
Did you know about the Bandon Marsh when they tried to expand that?
No.
Oh, yeah, they tried to expand the Bandon Marsh all the way up from the mouth of the river, all the way up to the 4-mile marker, and they were going to get rid of all those farms, all those houses, and any remnants of mankind, and let it go back to the wild.
And the federal government tried to ram that one down our throats too.
And one of the reasons we defeated it was because we had a vote. We had a 70% turnout. 72% of the people said no, we don't want that, and all of a sudden it went away.
That's good.
Yeah.
People got to get out and vote.
Yeah, that's what we're
That's a
hoping.
problem.
It's kind of why we're here.
That's why we're wandering around and talking to people going,
Keep wandering.
oh, I know.
Thank you. Love your car. Thank you.
As bad as changing the diaper, okay.
Pink zebra. Ooh, certainly smells good. Why, thank you. Would you like to comment on wind turbines?
Yeah.
He's recording, by the way.
So.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. What do you
For
think?
the Rob Taylor Report.
Yeah.
It's a podcast watched by 8, maybe 10 people.
10, maybe
Oh, yeah.
tops. If my mom watches, it's actually
Yeah.
amazing, so it's cool.
I know some guys that used to work on them in Sweetwater, Texas, and the hubs of these machines leak oil. The seals wear out quickly,
Yeah.
and then they drip and leak oil, and that's not what we want for our ocean. But if they were to do it, I would see it more practicality of easier maintenance and over land.
Yeah.
30 miles out and 4,000 feet of water is going to be a little difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
I
they-
never thought they could make West Texas any more butt ugly than putting all those damn
Right.
windmills.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they put them out everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vestas was the company that did it.
Yeah.
I drove from Amarillo to Albuquerque, and it was windmills all the way to the Texas border.
Oh, nice.
It was nuts.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
guys, good for you guys.
Yeah, and at one point they did have wind turbines off the coast here. It was up where Bandon Dunes is now. The wind turbines on shore were so were so bad that they decided to put in a golf course.
Oh wow.
And if they can't get them to work on land, I'm sure 30 miles out to sea and 4,000 feet of water and really heavy seas, is going to make it that much easier.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, maintenancing those things would be a complete nightmare.
Yeah.
Even docking to one's going to be.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that those techs who have to go work on those things, they're making buku bucks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm jealous because that's
They
wouldn't
are.
want to do it, but they are making some good money.
And there's there's a ballot measure in Coos County and a ballot measure in Curry County on the November election.
I'll be
So
sure.
so vote yes to say tell the commissioners to keep fighting them,
I sure will.
Thank you.
because it's worded like a standard ballot measure, which means yes because you don't like the turbines.
Yeah, those hubs are filled with, I forget how many hundreds of gallons.
Gallons of
Oh, yeah.
oil. Yeah.
And those seals go out regularly because the wear and tear.
So
on
when
them.
I was driving through, you would see like every fifth or sixth one with oil spewing out the top of it. I was just
Hello.
blown away by that. Yeah, somebody's making good money on that.
Right. Well, you
No.
guys take care.
No,
You
we're
too,
just
man.
cruising through the crowd talking to people.
Hello. How you doing? What do you ladies think of the wind turbines?
Awful idea.
Are you sure? I mean, we're just going to kill a few whales to have a little bit of energy.
Who wants those albatross? Who wants those? Who wants the Dungeness crab? I mean,
Yeah.
what's a whale ever done for you? I mean, come on. Those big honking mammals never did a dang thing for me.
Well, you all take care.
Have a great afternoon. Kill a whale. Put in a wind turbine.
Put in a wind turbine.
Nice hat.
Thank you.
I need a hat.
That was hilarious.
I need a hat like that for my thinning hair.
Yes. So,
Hi, would you like to hold up a wind turbine sign way off the ground? Okay.
yeah, that works.
There we go. We'll cool you off there.
Nice. Good talent there.
I don't know. Don't know who your surgeon is, but I think they didn't quite get your prosthetics right.
No, yeah, something was off that day. I never noticed it. This is a sushi place in Bandon. I didn't realize.
Yeah, neither did I. And I'm normally kind of a sushi guy.
Well, I know. I think you're kind of a fishy guy.
That too.
Yeah.
I catch my own fish and eat it raw. Wow, a lot of motorcycles.
I want wind turbines.
Oh, not these. Okay, 1,000 feet tall, 3,000 foot signs, and billions of dollars coming out of the taxpayer's pocketbook. That's a great idea. Spending somebody else's money.
Well, they never have a problem with selling people's money.
I mean, but this is the question I had even when I lived here in the 70s.
Why are you against wind turbines?
Because it's going to cost taxpayers billions of dollars, and the corporations don't actually have to pay for it. So it's going to be coming out of your money. The corporations that are leasing the land to put up the 1,000-foot high wind turbines with 300-foot long blades of 11 to 30 miles. Well, leasing the ocean space, but yeah, same difference. But yeah, they're 4,000 feet of water. They're going to be anchored in the ocean. And that means
in the ocean.
in the ocean.
Yes.
Cool.
These are going in the ocean.
Well, not cool because it'll interfere with whale migrations and interfere with salmon migration, interfere with albatross migration. The federal government has waived any EPA guidelines and says you don't need to do an environmental impact study at all. And I guess at this point, the conversation's over. But anyway, I'm normally a green energy kind of guy. I had my prior house, I had 32 solar panels on the top of my house. I was generating 2.2 kilowatts of electricity, but it made sense because it paid for itself. And I wasn't like going to my neighbors going, give me $1,500 so I can put something on my roof. Yeah. And that's the problem here is all the money is not coming from the corporations, it's coming out of the taxpayers.
They're gonna put it like out of the...
No, they're putting it like 11 to 30 miles out in the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
And the problem is the power's got to get back to land somehow. And once it gets back to land, who's going to put in the infrastructure to move that power? Well, it's going to be done by the power companies. Yeah, the power companies, who are they going to charge? They're not just going to go, oh, we're going to be beneficial about this, put these in on our own dime. So anyway, it doesn't make a lot. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So thanks for listening.
That's the only thing I don't like about the whole harvest.
Yeah, well, it cuts down on the amount of conversations we can have.
That's true. All right. And that was our day downtown Bandon at the Cranberry Festival. And the thing was packed. It was a lot more packed than what it looked like in the camera, because it seemed like in the afternoon. That was probably about, I would guess, around 2:00, and it seemed to slow down. But in the morning, it was just full of all kinds of people. So, and I want to thank everyone who volunteered to speak. I know it's some people were hesitant. There was a lot of people who we would get into a conversation with, and they would say, "Oh, I don't want to be on camera." And if that's the way you want to go, I can completely understand that in today's environment, because you say the wrong thing and you can lose your entire business. I mean, literally, I've seen that happen where, people make the mistake of agreeing or disagreeing with an issue, and all of a sudden you find yourself unemployed. It's a very, very sad situation that's going on in this country. I want to remind everyone, we've got something else that's going to be happening here in Coos County, and I've never seen this occur anywhere else. And it's going to happen right here in Coos County. The Coos County Board of Commissioners have scheduled a work session with Dr. Douglas Frank and Professor Justin Grimmer to discuss election integrity. This is going to be happening at the Owen Building in Coquille on Thursday, October 10th at 9:30 a.m. Now, Professor Justin Grimmer is a man who tries to sabotage anyone who comes out against the elections, because they think the elections have been stolen, or they think there are anomalies, peculiarities with our elections. And I would say, after diving into the local election here from 2020, I can tell you for sure there is definitely stuff going on in our elections. And I think Douglas Frank has presented an incredible argument, very well done, using the data to show how someone is manipulating the voter rolls here in Oregon. And it's not something of just his imagination. Judicial Watch has a lawsuit against Oregon where they threaten to sue Oregon if we don't clean up, or the state doesn't clean up their voter rolls. And I think this is very important. But Professor Justin Grimmer is going to try to basically knock down Dr. Douglas Frank's argument. And this is going to be really interesting, because this is happening here in Coos County on October 10th at 9:30 a.m. And if you are someone who's interested in election integrity, you're working on an election integrity in your county, I would highly recommend you get down here on that Thursday. And it's going to be a packed room. I can tell you right now, the leftists are going to come out in full force, and we've got them here. We've got them here in Coos County, and they're going to be out in full force. And of course, we're going to be there in full force. And so it's going to be an interesting meeting. And I hope that Rod has figured out what he's going to do and how he's going to conduct the meeting, so that we can get the maximum amount of information from both these men. Because who knows, maybe Professor Justin Grimmer will be able to convince us that Douglas Frank is wrong. I don't know. He's going to have one hell of an argument, and I want to hear that argument. And maybe we'll listen to what Justin Grimmer has to say, and we'll realize, nope, Dr. Douglas Frank, he's right on the money. We're going to continue investigating our elections, because election integrity is one of the most important things in this country. Because if you're not going to have honest elections, then why have elections at all? And so that's something that's happening. I'm going to kind of switch gears here, because I've got my guest coming on, and he has popped up a little bit early. He had to go pick up his kids from school, and he popped on here a little bit early. And so I wanted to go ahead and pull him on and start the interview, because I think there's going to be a lot to talk about. So joining me right now is a gentleman who's running for the City Council of Roseburg, Ward 2, Position 2, and his name is Steve Hammerson. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Rob?
I am kicking butt and taking names. I'm having a great time. I love these campaigns. I truly, you know, whether you win or lose, these are fun. And it looks like you're having fun because I saw your website and I saw your signs, and I love the We Need Steve thing. That was really cool.
Yeah, I can't take full credit for it. It's yeah, I was joking with a buddy of mine a couple days ago, and because he read something on the website, and he's like, that didn't really sound like it was coming out of your mouth. And I'm like, well, 90% of it's coming out of my mouth, and then about 10% of it is more like this will sound good. The thing that we were talking about is it basically says that I'm strong and big, I think, and good. And
It was
he's like,
your wife wrote that, didn't she? I mean, tell us the truth. That sounds totally like Michaela.
it was a discussion because I'm kind of like mango like fruit. Like I'm like, this is a little basic here. Like we're
Yeah.
and she's like,
Yeah.
no, it sounds good. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll trust you on that one.
I think you put an extra "and" in that too when she wrote that sentence out. You're big and strong and good. You know, it was like you need to get rid of one of those "ands" and put in a comma. But I like the way she wrote it because when you read it out, it's like you said, it did sound kind of like Mongo
Yeah.
or something. But you know, no, talking about you, Steve, you are a good guy. You're a good man, and I think that you have suffered the consequences of going against the grain, and I love you for it. I love you for it because anyone who's willing to sacrifice their political endeavors to actually follow their integrity, that's the kind of people we need in office. And that's why I'd love to have you on to talk about what's going on in Roseburg, because you kind of you know, this whole campaign for Roseburg, the city council kind of catches me off guard because I really don't know the local issues. So I'm going to let you lead the way. Tell us what's up in Roseburg and what do you want to do?
Yeah, so I mean, the main issues, I mean, I can just tell you from before I started delving into, the city council address issues. There's obviously the homelessness issue is a problem. It's kind of one of those problems that you take on due to difficult legislation that we have to deal with. But I mean, it's also a local problem. So, the homeless community in Roseburg is definitely something that needs to be addressed in, a compassionate nature. The parking issue. I know that that parking meter guy that's chasing everybody downtown. It's kind of been yeah. We used to have meetings down there on Jackson Street, and after 2 hours, everybody would scurry and go, oh, we got to move our car, anywhere from a couple feet to, wherever there's a space, because it's an unwelcoming environment down there, and it's really important, I think. Roseburg's got a lot of charm. It's got a lot of unique features, and it's got a lot of history. The buildings have been there for a very long time. In fact, the Roseburg High School, the old building they used to operate out of, still exists. It's still there. They just kind of surrounded it with a bunch of new buildings that are functional that won't threaten the safety of children. So, but I mean, you look at that old Roseburg High School, and it's just a beautiful building. It really just kind of it makes you go, man, the craftsmanship that used to occur was so much more detailed and skilled back in the day. But I mean, that kind of wraps into another reason that I'm running for city council is, our superintendent in Roseburg School District. He's a real visionary guy. He's really an incredible guy, and I just appreciate every moment I get to spend with him. I actually got to watch the last Roseburg football game with him, and he's a forward thinking guy, and he's really kind of one of his mottos has been, we want people to own houses. We don't want people to rent houses in Roseburg, and that really stuck to me. I mean, he's one of those guys that he wants there to be good paying jobs. He wants it to be a tourist attraction. He wants the money coming into Roseburg, just because it's a safe, fun, interesting place to be. And I really want that for my kids too. So I mean, making the public spaces safe, and pleasurable to go to, is definitely high on the priority list. I mean, working with law enforcement, that's a big one. when city ordinances are created and approved by city council, law enforcement has to deal with it. So, keeping a good open connection with them to say, hey, what's plausible, what's not plausible, what's giving you fits, what's going to make people in the community more, um, you know, productive and contributing members of society. I mean, that's really the goal, is so that we get our community happy, working good jobs and buying houses. And so, I mean, really, to me, city council the Roseburg School Board is one piece of it. But then what are all these kids going to do once they, hopefully get certifications, get skills while they're in high school, where they're entering the workforce and they're, you know, viable people to get high paying jobs if, they happen to not be able to go to college or whatever the case. So, um, it gets me out of the house. I work from home, so it's like, and I
Yeah.
haven't volunteered enough in my life. So I'm at that point in my life where I'm like, I got to make up for lost time. I gotta be
It
a
gets
volunteer here.
addictive. It
Yeah.
really does when you start doing stuff, and especially when you start seeing effects from the results of the effects of the results that the results of your work. Boy, for some reason I was having a hard time with
The
that sentence.
fruits of your labor.
The fruits of your labor. There, very well put. And see, you're getting that political niche. There you
I'm
go.
usually horrible with analogies, so I'm just happy I got a good one.
Yeah, that's and me too. I know I always stumble over my tongue. So what do I want to do? I want to be a talk show host. This is what I do to face those fears. But yeah, I could see where talking about the homeless, there are different categories of homeless people, and I know that in the next couple of years, there are some younger people that I know and older people at the two opposite polar ends of the age groups, those demographics, people who are 70 and above, people who are 30 and below, I think are the most at risk for losing their homes. And so what do you think as a city that you could possibly do? Is it taxing structure? Is it regulation? Is it the fees on development? What do you think you could do in the city to help alleviate that? Because this is going to be a huge problem going down the road.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, it's kind of tough when you have legislation that's kind of tying one arm behind your back on a lot of these issues. But I mean, I might have a general response for you that, kind of doesn't answer the question. I think the real thing that we're lacking in our elected official pool is identifying who the real stakeholders are in every situation and listening, and then brainstorming, work session. What are the problems, what are the issues, get that feedback from the community at the ground floor, and then, what are viable creative solutions, and then take notes, and then take all that to the table and do a work session and just say, hey, here's the pain points here, here's the opportunities here, and actually put the work in to address. Because I mean, and I've seen this, I mean, a past board member, I was just going through the 2018 city council meetings, and it seemed like one of the city council members really wanted to push a certain solution for the homeless problem. um, and when you're on a board, you kind of have to act as an arm or a leg, or nobody's
Right,
the head. Like
right.
you're just different parts of the body. The head is your collaborative effort. But one of those body parts is, the voices in the community saying, this is viable, this is not viable, and actually having a true stakeholders, you know, communication or session or space where people can go, you can say, hey, these are the problems, and we need a solution. So what can we figure out to fix this problem? It pains me to see when certain people are just like, I figured it out, and then I got to push this to an extreme where, it's bad for the collective. So, really, a lot of what I'm running on is being a person that's going to listen and consider you know, what's best for the community by the people that actually are impacted by it.
And that's probably one of the things when anyone's considering electing somebody to a board, whether it be the school board, the city council, or the county commissioners, is, as you said, it's you are part of a 7-member team. I think it's probably 7 members in the council. I know you have 3 county commissioners. We have 3 county commissioners. And either way, when you're elected to a board, you have 6 other people that you have to deal with. And like you said, you can have all the greatest ideas that you want, but once you bring them to the table and they're chopped up and deciphered by all these other people, it doesn't normally look what you think you had. So that's why you're good for these type of boards, because your personality is someone who can work with other people well. I myself, I would have a hard time being on a board, Steve. I'll be honest with you. It's something that you know,
It's
as someone,
it's
I mean, the school board, I've gone to many school board meetings, and I usually go to the end of the year meeting where they're deciding where to, you know, what to spend the last of their pennies on, because if they don't spend it all, they don't get it back next year. It's a crazy budgeting idea that they have. And I've literally sat through 6-hour meetings where they were deciding on what color crayons to buy so that they can spend money. I mean, it was down to that kind of a detail. And you just want to scream, but this is what happens on a board. It gets so meticulous to that point where, and maybe it's a good thing, because government has to stop and have to actually evaluate that. And the term you use is stakeholders. And when I am in the audience, this is the thing I always have to remind board members. Their stakeholders is a word that kind of puts everyone in the same collective, where it portrays us as all equal members of the society, when we're not, because some of us are taxpayers, so we're stake payers, we're stake takers, the people who take the money, and then you've got the stake makers, the people who make the policy. And so we don't all come to the table from the same place. And so once again, not only are you balancing out having to work with 7 people, but you have to work with the element in the community that has different vested interest in doing this. Because as a taxpayer, I got a county, we're broke, we're dead broke, and they need money, and I refuse to vote for any more property taxes. And it's going to be a problem down the road. But I think that they'll eventually figure it out. They'll solve it and they'll get through it. But you are going to be on a board that's going to have to go through that. How do you evaluate that when you're looking at those so-called stakeholders? Who really has a claim on what when you're making those decisions?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I've seen it both ways, right? I've seen
Yeah.
it where, you know, higher level government has essentially hired their stakeholders to say, well, this is the chair of this commission and this is the chair of that commission. And they've all decided as stakeholders that this certain piece of property, let's call it property A, should be used for this. And then there's 7 neighbors of that property, of property A. And they haven't talked to a single one of them, you know? So
Yeah.
it's a fantastic question. What are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? You know, really, it comes down to that's your duty. That's your responsibility as a board member. If you're going to impact anyone negatively in the community, you need to use common sense and logic and understand who the actual stakeholders are. And if, you know, if the board or people that are impacting the decision are getting in the way, then you just step outside of your box and you go talk to those neighbors, and you talk to all 7 neighbors and say, what do you think about us using this land for this particular situation? You know, one of them I heard was, you know, a homeless encampment area, you know, and the story goes that, you know, everybody said everything was cool, and then one of the board members came out and said, well, who's talked to the neighbors? And then it
Right.
turns out nobody talked to the neighbors. And so she went out and she talked to every single neighbor. Every single one of them was like, I don't want this. And so, that was her duty as a board member, to use common sense and logic, recognize who the actual stakeholders are, and then show up at the board meeting and say, hey guys, I mean, this all may look great on paper, but you're going to have some very upset people that are legitimate stakeholders in this situation. And this needs to be addressed before we move forward. So, I mean, that's part of it is, recognizing when there's outside influence, recognizing when there's money influence, or maybe political influence, or whatever's happening that's, making a situation seem a little off, recognizing that and just saying, oh, well, I know who the stakeholders are going to be in this situation. I'm going to go talk to them. It's my duty to figure out if this is right or this is wrong.
You nailed that answer. That's exactly right. You nailed it.
I'm learning on the job.
Yeah, but that's what happens. They come in from the higher up and they say, "Oh, we've got all the stakeholders here," and it's the stakeholders that seem to represent what they want. And like you said, they game the system where they overwhelm it with the stakeholders who are benefiting from it, but nobody has asked the stakeholders who are going to suffer a liability from whatever project we're talking about, and that could be anything. And they try to portray themselves, and I'm talking to higher ups who come in with the stakeholder idea that, oh, we're all for it. And BOEM is a good example. The Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, they're going around telling everyone else that we in Southern Oregon are all for these wind turbines. And it's like, whoa, who are you talking to? And so that's why we got that vote. So that's
well, I like to call it severe negligence of conflict of interest recognition.
Yes, that's good answer. Good answer. I like that. You have to separate the homeless from people who are, like I said, who are actually fell on hard times. And I'll give you once again the 30 and under, the 70 and over. They just can't make ends meet. I don't know how anyone's living on Social Security right now. I don't even know how they're making it. And I've got relatives who are they're living on the edge of being homeless themselves. And do you think there is anything you can do with the taxing structure, and it would be a property tax because the city is a property tax, that you could use in that taxing structure to help people who are just about to lose their home? So because if they do lose their home, it's going to contribute to the problem immensely once they're out and get into the system and out of their house.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's little things we can do. Short answer and long answer. I mean, short answer is that we can only probably do a little bit to try to, help a catastrophic problem. But it comes down, really in the end, it comes down to communication. I mean, recognizing, is this person homeless because they got a drug problem? Is this person homeless because they lost their job? Is this person homeless? What's the reason that they're homeless? Categorizing those reasons. I mean, there's many situations where people are homeless and it's not their fault. There's many situations where people are homeless and it's all their fault.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a thing, and it blew my mind about 10 years ago. I was, at my career job, and one of my coworkers basically said that her cousin was, I forget what the term was, but essentially it was a lifestyle to choose to be homeless. And there was like a big group of them in Portland that were like, no, this is a lifestyle. We've chosen to be homeless.
Mm-hmm.
And you go into a situation like that and you go, well, if this is what they want, they're choosing to live this way. I mean, that's not really a fixable problem. I mean, if it's because the logging industry ejected out of Roseburg and we got a mass of people that don't have jobs anymore, specific instance versus more holistic situation with drug abuse. I don't know. It's I don't know. I kind of strayed away from your question a little bit.
It does tie into it though, because you're absolutely right. There is several different categories of people who are homeless, and the politically correct word now is they're pushing is houseless, and I always go, no, they're not houseless, because like you said, there's many of them see this as a lifestyle. They chose drugs over living a structured life, going against the mores of society. In fact, so many people have gone against the mores of society that it's now, and it worries me that there is some young people who think this is cool. This is the way to go, man. This is, you live off the government, you get free health care, you get free housing sometimes, and you get paid to do drugs. And I'm worried that this is a bad, example that we're setting for our children. And you've got 4 kids, right?
3.
Oh, well, maybe you're gonna have
3
some
boys.
soon. I don't know.
I
You
have
want
2
another
boys
one.
that are in elementary school and 1 boy that's a sophomore at Roseburg High.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good age. Sophomore in high school. That's when all the real expensive problems start happening. Yes.
Oh, he's a fantastic kid. I mean,
He is.
I have no complaints. He's got a 4-point GPA. He works super hard. He's super intelligent. Far more smart than, like, I'll lose arguments to him all the time. He's
Don't you love that when they get to the point, or they can use what you've done in your past against you? That's, yeah.
he can use common sense and logic against me. I'm just like, there's certain times where I'll have like a blind spot and I'm like, oh man, oh, you're right. I'm
That
like,
was pretty smart there. Now shut up and eat your food.
Well, then he'll start to go into the nutrition of the food. Why should I eat this food? The nutrition on this is
Yeah.
Like,
I missed
got
that. My son, I'm so thrilled. My son is going to be moving back after being away for like 6 years. And it's going to be, he's moving right next door. And so I'm going to get to see my grandkid every day. This is like the thrill of a lifetime. And
awesome.
I can talk to my kid now, because it seemed at the age of 14 or 15, we all of a sudden became enemies. We were very adversarial, and it's my fault because he's a lot like me, and we really butt heads. He was a very independent kid, and he loved to push the buttons. He loved to go and start arguments with the teacher, but it was cool arguments because they would argue over things like, a redistribution. I mean, I wouldn't even have thought of that when I was in sophomore in high school. So, it's cool that you have that kid, but we used to butt heads all the time. But just stop annoying your teachers. Just get a good grade. And so, that's the important thing when you have kids. People who have kids should be in government. And it makes me mad that there aren't more parents who are stepping forward, because this is, when you become a city council, how many hours do you think will be dedicated to that job a week?
I mean, I'm guessing there's always a lot of reading, so I'm guessing I probably have to spend 3 or 4 hours at least, probably more, 7 or 8 hours reading. I have a feeling that there'll be a lot more community communication. And that one is kind of the one where I can't really put a bucket on it, because if it's with the school board, I mean, usually the communication comes through public participation, and our school board's fantastic. If somebody shows up from the public and they have some sort of burning issue, we kind of have an unspoken policy with each other of like, hey, we're, at least half of us are going to stay behind and like talk to this person, make sure that their issues getting addressed, and so I don't know any of the council members that are on the council right now personally, or I haven't had a working relationship with them. So I wouldn't, I honestly, I look at the Roseburg School Board, and we work as a team so well that it is a lot less work than your average board.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
really, I don't spend an absorbent amount of time, with the Roseburg School Board issues or work, because I mean, and there's a lot of stuff too that I found out. I went to the OSBA conference about 3 weeks ago, and a lot of school boards, they don't even have committees. Like they'll have like a budget committee, and then that's it. Like we have like 7 committees. We have in each one of us is chair of one committee or chair of 2 committees.
Right.
So it's so high functioning.
Do
I don't
you?
know. To me, it might be like Pandora's box. I might walk into city council and just go, whoa, we need to get our infrastructure,
Right.
ramped up. Or I might walk in there and go, oh, this is kind of like the Roseburg School Board. Sweet.
And you're absolutely right, because there are some boards who function well together, and some boards that the infighting alone takes up so much time with
Oh, it'll
one
take all
person
the time.
doing this. It'll take all the time. And I've seen this. You're absolutely right. But it's interesting you talk about the committees that you have on the school board. Is there a lot of people who are willing to participate with these committees? And what are those committees?
Um, I couldn't name them all off the top of my head. The committee that I chaired last year was Building and Sites. And the Building and Sites Committee, I would say the most visual, recognizable public thing that happened while I was chairing that were the lights on Finley football field. So we had these old lights that were like, shooting into the neighbors' houses, and they took 3 hours to warm up, and they're just like an electricity monster, just pulling electricity all the
Right.
time. And then, when they take that long to fire up, they take longer to fire, or I think almost as long to fire down. And it's like a football game happens on a Friday night, and one of our neighbors in the next to the Roseburg High School is, they're just getting lights pumped on their house until,
Yeah.
probably 2 hours after they fell asleep. So it was cool because it was, to your point about, spending money on crayons and which colors. They're super fiscally responsible in the Roseburg district. I can go into how we used our ESSER funds and all that stuff. That we have a fantastic administration there, and they're super fiscally responsible. But the main feedback I was getting is, we're putting lights on the football field, like, we need air conditioning, or we need, maintenance stuff like to happen across our, 17 buildings or whatever we have. And I was kind of on that too. That was kind of my opinion as well. But I mean, the project was about a little under, I think, or maybe $280,000 for the project. But half of it we were able to utilize with, energy efficiency grant money, because we're switching from these bulbs that burn forever to LEDs. And
Right.
then another half of it I calculated. Well, actually, the first thing is the lighting company was like, hey, it's it basically is these lights have like a 25 or 30-year warranty on them. And I'm like, okay, so they're going to be perfect, like full warranty. I'm like, okay, so they're going to be perfect for that amount of time. I'm like, let me calculate how much it's going to be to run these old lights and how much it's going to be to run these new lights during that time. And it like more than took care of the other half. And so I'm like, in the end, like, this is a cost neutral situation. Like, if we switch to these lights right now,
You're
by
saving
the
money.
yeah, by the end of their life,
Yeah.
it's even cheaper to have them than if we were just saying, no, we're not going to address it. So, I mean, and that was a cool skill that I got. It was like, find cost neutral projects. Where's a project where we're burning money because of electricity, or we're burning money because of, a bad route on the buses, or, whatever the situation is, figure it out. And then, so yeah, but I mean, that was my experience in committee. Last year. Building Insights is kind of good for Mongo, it's it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like build structure, good. But I mean, our committees are obviously we have a bargaining committee, which worked out fantastic last year. We got a deal done with admin, with it was what, certified and non-certified employees, classified and non-classified employees.
I hate to interrupt you,
Oh, go-
but you're saying the bargaining committee,
yeah.
actual debate or discussion on bargaining with the suppliers and services that you need for the school, right?
Oh no, it's for our contract. So like when teachers strike.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really, the bargaining committee is a proactive committee to, reach out to the employees and build that relationship with the employees so we don't end up in a strike situation. Right.
That's actually probably a good idea. That's
Yeah. Well,
actually a pretty good idea.
and I think we were either first or second in the state to strike a deal. And that kind of had mixed results. It was like, half the people are like, dude, like now your deal is impacting our deal. Like some people were like frustrated by it, but other people were like, thank you for setting the example of what this should look like, you know? And I think we got far more positive communication on that than negative. And it's security for the employees too. They got what they felt was fair. We got what we felt we could give. And we started out far apart, but we found a happy medium, and so there's really, in the end, it's like, this is for the kids, like the job security and the job sustainability in the teacher's head and all the other admins head and everybody from the lunch lady all the way up to the superintendent, them having that peace of mind of, okay, I have a structured 3-year contract. I don't have to worry about that. I can just worry about focusing on, doing my job, making these kids, the best that they can
Because
be.
you got a pretty good sized district in Roseburg. It's, I
Decent.
mean, it's much larger than what we have here in Coos.
Yeah, I always call Roseburg like the biggest or the biggest small city in the state. It's like,
Yeah.
we could be considered rural. And I actually was talking to another board chair in another school district, and she's like, you guys could classify yourself as rural if you wanted to. And I was like, yeah, I haven't really even looked into that, but it's considered a city by all the other little communities around it. So
Right.
it's the biggest, but Portland or Eugene would just blow us out of the water. So
Oh, well, totally. Yeah. I mean, that's to be recognized because of all the population they have in that area. But Roseburg at one time was the timber capital of the world, and because of what's happened to Southern Oregon and our timber industry, all the counties in Southern Oregon are really taking a hit, and many other places as well in Oregon. But what you were just talking about, what's happening on the school board committee, that translates the ascension in the political ladder, and it's always good that you see people who start off in the school board, move up to the city, the commissioners, and then so on and so on, because it gives you an idea of what you're going to face when you climb up that ladder and are going to have to deal with the union, so to say, with the city. And I mean, we're always constantly going back and forth with the unions here in Bandon. I know the city council is always constantly debating one issue or another because of their demands and stuff. And some of their demands are just, understandable. And some of their demands are like, well, are you freaking crazy? And so and the city doesn't have a bargaining committee, I don't believe. And part of the problem is they've gotten rid of several committees is because people don't want to participate. So that's why I asked you if there's people willing to participate in all these committees. I mean, that's probably the biggest problem here in Bandon.
yeah, I mean, our committees, we'll do 3 board members so that we don't create quorum. And the committee work mostly comes from the board members. But I mean, I have seen situations where, you'll do a couple board members and a couple people from the community that are, passionate about a subject or knowledgeable about a subject. And to me, that's all good. I mean, committee work is where things get done. It's where, you can have that bridge with the community and say, this is a problem. Let's get some work done to figure out what we need to do. And then let's show up at the board meeting and make a recommendation. And then the board goes, okay, the board will get the reading materials from the committee work, and then the issue will come to the table. And then to me, that's how a functional board's supposed to work. And in a situation like city council, I would think that, committee work would be important.
And I'm sure there's a lot of things that are going to come up that you really can't have an answer for, because not being in that position, you don't know what the future holds for you.
Yeah.
One
Yeah,
of the
a lot of people that I've talked to, they kind of go, well, what qualifies you? And in my mind, I go, well, what qualifies me is I'm not a greasy politician that's going to fleece you. I'm going to stand up for you.
Yeah.
And I'm not a politician, and I haven't been a politician my whole life. I don't even want to be a politician. But when you have a high level of responsibility and duty to the community, and you have people in those positions that aren't recognizing that, and they're not,
Yeah.
appreciating we the people, you start to like go down this road where you're just like, this it doesn't matter what I want to do. I have a duty to do the right thing.
Yeah. I know this is, I believe this is a nonpartisan office that you're running for. It's, you are a registered Republican, and I do know that you have been a big supporter of many different Republican and conservative candidates. Um, what is the makeup of the current board, and what is the makeup of the candidates right now who are running for that board? Because I looked at some of their pictures, and you've got a woman with a nose ring, and maybe she's not, she could be a conservative, but I don't know. You know what I mean? You first impressions, you got a guy with a couple of face tattoos who, like I said, maybe an all right guy, but first impression is everything. You see some of these people that are in these races, and even the person you're running against, what's their makeup politically?
Well, I know the lady I'm running against is a Republican. I know she's been on the board for, I think, 8 to 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Not 100% sure. They don't post city council board meetings on YouTube like they do with Roseburg School District, which is unfortunate. I like how transparent we are. But I mean, the other races, I haven't, because I'm not running up against any of them. I haven't looked them up. I did look at the pictures though. I think KL. Well, I read a little blip. I think KLCC, or what is the Eugene radio station? KEL
Gosh, I
or
don't know.
K something. But one of their people reached out to me and was like, "Hey, can I do a radio interview?" And so I did that. And then he said, "Hey, I'm gonna put out a little blurb on what's going on with the city council race, because I guess all of the positions being contested is something that's really rare or possibly never happened before." So I did look up at his article once he produced it, just to make sure he didn't say anything that I didn't say.
Right.
So that's how I saw all the pictures. But yeah, I mean, I'm not about judgment. You know me, right?
Right. Yeah, totally. Totally.
If you decided to pierce everything on your head in your 20s, or you decided to get a tattoo on your face, or
Yeah.
whatever happened, I don't look at people visually and get any sort of judgment. To me, it's like, my hero growing up was Martin Luther King. The content of your character thing was a huge sticking point with me. So it wouldn't matter to me how anybody looked. It would just be, are you willing to show up and do your duty of serving the community? If you're on that page, I'm right there with you, and let's work. So yeah, I don't know. So one of the races, I think it's 4. The guy that was there, or the gal that was there, I'm not sure, is stepping down. So that's a new one. So whoever's getting elected, that's a new person contested. But then I think there's 2 incumbents. I think including me, there's 3 incumbents and then 3 challengers. Which it's all been different.
Are you an incumbent for this race? Are you already on the city council?
No. I don't know how to pronounce the name, and I don't want to
Zelensky or something like that?
Yeah, Andrea. She's been on for 8 to 10 years. Yeah, I'm considered a challenger in that.
Okay. All right. And so but what is the makeup of the board right now? Do they normally lean to the left, or they normally lean to the right? Or, what's your opinion on which direction they flow?
If I had my best guess, I'd say that they're left leaning.
They're left leaning.
Yeah. And in the ward that I'm in, there seems to be more conservatives. In the wards outside of my ward seem to be not so conservative.
And I find that true, like in Coos County, the city of Coos Bay, the largest city here, and the city of North Bend. North Bend, not nearly as bad, but because they're in the cities, and I don't know what it is about cities, but they do tend to lean more left than, and I think some of it's the fault of the people on the right. They just don't run for office. They're not interested as much because, well, we're, independent thinking people, and not so much as wanting to get on a committee and work in that collective environment. And it's hard for some people. Like I said, it would be hard for me. So I can understand why people on the right might not take up that challenge. And that's why we get outnumbered on the city, which is basically here in Coos Bay. Basically, I shouldn't say that. They are divided pretty well equally between the Republicans and the Democrats. And of course, the non-affiliated voter makes the largest amount of that group. So that's, I don't know if that really is determined from that, or if it's the fault of the Republicans or the conservatives in that.
Seems like a microcosm. It's like the bigger you get, the more it stays the same. Like in the city, in downtown Roseburg, probably, more leaning liberal. In the rural areas of Roseburg, leaning more conservative. Just like Portland and Eugene and the rest of the state of Oregon, just like California and New York and the rest of the United States. It seems like that human behavior, it doesn't matter how big or small you get, it stays the same.
And it's true, unless, you actually go to a conservative city, and there are a few way east of Oregon, that's for sure. You know what I mean? But what you say is true. It's funny how that works, that, a lot of people, when you go up with the higher populations, they tend to move towards the left. And I don't know what it is about the living in a city that does that. I don't know.
It makes a little sense to me, honestly, because the Liberal Party seems to be more leaning towards forming. The Conservative Party or the Republican Party seems more open to fight. So they kind of stay in spaced out areas.
I can see that.
Than another human.
There's something to be said for that analogy there.
Yeah, somebody needs to write a book on that whole.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a human study there somewhere. I totally think you're absolutely right on that. What right now, we are in the middle of getting taxed. I think there's a city that has a tax levy. The county has a tax levy. Are you facing any tax levies from the city this year on the ballot?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Because you own a pretty nice house, so you're someone who would be totally affected by a property tax being thrown on you from the city.
Oh yeah, our property tax is insane. I did not want to move into this house.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, we've been house poor for a while, and yeah, it's tough to have an operational budget that's you're skimming by. But yeah, I mean that was my fault. So
hey, that
I allowed
happens.
it to happen.
Yeah, I totally get that. And your house is neat because it's starting at the bottom of the driveway. Your house is more vertical than it is horizontal. I've never seen a house where you go up the driveway, which is quite a hill, and then you go up one staircase, another staircase. It's like, does this damn thing end anywhere?
It's a good workout. I mean, I remember the first couple weeks we were here, my legs were like spaghetti.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, I bet if we moved into a one-story flat house on some property that was fairly flat, I bet my legs would probably get smaller.
I could see that. That's a pretty decent staircase you have there. One of the other issues that we kind of glazed over, but I want to go back to it because in the city that's just south of you, Grants Pass is south of you. Yeah, Grants Pass is south of you. They just took a lawsuit to the Supreme Court talking about how law enforcement conduct themselves with people camping on the sidewalk, camping on public areas and stuff. Unfortunately, even though the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the city, the state of Oregon has a bill or a law that was created by House Bill 3115, I believe it was. And we still have to follow the crazy guidelines of basically allowing people to camp wherever the hell they want unless the city itself sets up a homeless shelter so that people can go to, and then the cops can move them along. What's the situation with that? Because that's definitely the other coin, the other side of the coin of people who are legitimately homeless.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the same in Roseburg, and I mean, that's one of those things where it's like if we have a governor and a House and a Senate that, you know, passes legislation that says this is how we deal with this, um, it really ties the hands of law enforcement and really makes a situation where it's like, how do we have the ability to make the situation better? Um, yeah, to me, it's the hand tied behind your back situation. But I mean, I'm pretty sure that you can pass city ordinances that law enforcement can utilize. The problem is once like you said, I don't know what happened in Grants Pass, but once you get to a certain point, it's like, how effective is that? Or was that, a lawsuit that we didn't need to deal with? Or, yeah.
I guess Samantha Frost, you were mutual friends,
Oh,
you, her, and I, and Samantha's on there, and she said that nope, the law is null and void, meaning the law 3115 is null and void. I don't know if
hmm.
that's true, Samantha. I've heard different things on that, so that's something we'll have
Well,
to check.
Samantha is well versed with the Constitution, so she she will tell you what's constitutionally protected and what's not. And then but it's really what you're talking about is there's what the law technically is, and then
Mhm.
what actually happens in function, which there tends to be a separation there that's extremely frustrating, where you go, well, this is what it says in the law book, but then it doesn't operate that way in function. Um, yeah, and
And
I mean, that's not, there's no easy answer for that.
it really isn't. It's a complicated answer, especially when you've got the legislature dictating to the cities what they will and will not do as far as their law enforcement. Samantha just replied again. She said, our politicians are just using that as an excuse. They want homeless camps in town so they can talk about it in their run for office. And
Well, then
I
there's
would,
also whatever federal funds that come through for quote
yeah,
unquote homeless crisis. I mean, you're seeing it in the Bay Area,
yeah,
where it's like, the homeless crisis is on the news. The homeless crisis is,
yeah.
being subsidized by checks that we're getting federally, but it's just getting worse. And then you go, well, why are we throwing all this money at the problem and it's getting worse? Well, someone's getting that money, but it's not the people that are quote unquote in the crisis. So
Right, right.
that's
And
a shame to see.
I believe in the carrot and the stick. We've got the problem is we got too many carrots and not enough stick in the government anymore. And I think that also you have a group in the government that are truly far leftist who want to destroy the system by sabotaging the system by passing these type of bad laws and then imposing them on cities like yours. But kind of change the issue, but staying in the same stream here is that law enforcement has been demonized all through the nation. And law enforcement in some cities, they're still honored, they're still revered. And yet in other cities, they're demonized by their own city council. What kind of relationship right now do you think the city council has with their police? And what kind of relationship would you, as a city councilor, like to have with your police, especially the chief?
From what I've seen, it's good. That being said, like I said, I've only been able to access information really kind of around 2018 and before, but a lot of the same players exist, and I think that they do have working relationship. It does appear to be good, and of course, I'd want to continue that. I mean, to me, having a functional relationship with your police department. I mean, there's nothing more important than if you want to keep your city safe, then you better have some really good relationships with the cops in that city. So yeah, I mean it's sad to think that there's city councils and law enforcement that or city
Yeah.
councils that would be living on a cloud of judgment towards their law enforcement officers. I mean, obviously, situation by situation, you
Yeah.
know, you get the bad apple cop situation and it doesn't get addressed, and something like that is a one-off. But yeah, I mean, there should be an overarching relationship there that's productive on both ends and helpful on both ends. I mean, it's like, yeah,
Yeah, you can't uphold the laws if because if well, let me put it this way: if the city council doesn't have the back of law enforcement, you get what's happening in Portland. And
yeah,
that's why I think some cities that were further out from these bigger major metropolitan areas who were under the gun from groups like Black Lives Matter and Antifa and stuff, um, they really made the mistake. And you see some of them backpedaling now, but I think cities further out, like Roseburg, like Coos Bay, like Grants Pass, even, I think that the city councils at one point they may have been thinking, "Oh, let's go the same direction," but after seeing the results, I think most of them have reeled it back in and have realized they better back the cops because if not, they're going to have that type of situation.
yeah.
How is that how is that situation in Roseburg as far as radicals, whether they be left or right, causing problems in the city? I'm just curious if that happens a lot.
Yeah, I don't think it happens that often. There's definitely mental health episodes happening on Jackson Street, or in downtown Roseburg. There's some people with some mental health issues that are definitely um, causing safety concerns. But in terms of I think you're kind of referring to a culture problem that's going on
Right.
in Portland, Eugene, that probably doesn't really um, exist much out here.
That's a good way to define it, right? And that's what I was curious if that type of culture is being developed and curated in Douglas County.
Yeah, it exists, but I think it's so small that it's not like a overarching issue.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I went to when I decided to take life seriously in my late 20s, and I went back to college. That was my goal, to be a patrol officer. That's what I wanted to do. So I went to
Cool.
I went to Western Oregon. It's a well-known cop school, or considered cop school. And I got my degree in criminal justice and minored in business. But then I was trying to get a job in Portland, and it didn't end up working out. But after
You're kind
seeing,
of
like,
lucky you didn't, don't you think?
I know, 2, 3, 4 years afterwards. I mean, really, it was it just came down to brass tacks on, like, can I raise the money on this, or can I raise
Yeah.
a family on this money? Um, which really, it's unfortunate that you gotta sell out and work for the insurance company to raise some kids these days. And my wife's got to do it too. We both got to get taxed so we can make sure the government's taken care of. But um, yeah, I mean, seeing the way that the people that were supposed to be there for the cops in Portland, that were supposed to have their back, to see the way that they turned on them. I mean, it was just and just kind of like drop the bat and just let them take it. It's just like these guys are on the front lines making sure that the community's safe, and then you're just going to stab them in the back and just leave them hanging while they're dealing with the Antifa riots, and they're dealing with all kinds of extra. Like it's
Right.
it's tough enough to be a city cop. I'm sure the things that you see each day, you're gonna have a hard time sleeping. But to have organized chaos like that happening, and then the people that are supposed to be the people that you go to say, hey, like, if we get a city ordinance for this, then we're going to stop having this horrible thing happen. and they're turned on you. I mean, that's just, I don't
Yeah.
even know how to describe that.
And that is a legitimate threat as a city councilor you're going to have to worry about. One of the things that they did here in Coos Bay is they passed an inclusionary resolution, which literally told or read in the resolution that we're racist, we're historically racist, and that some people are not even smart enough to know how racist we were. Do you think that those type of resolutions that are part of diversity, equity, and inclusion type of ideology, do you think that benefits the city or not?
Short answer, no. Kind of like I alluded to at the beginning of the interview, like I'll meet somebody where they're at, and then I'll have a constructive dialogue and try to figure out what motivates that person and whether they're a good person or not. Now, am I going to tell them whether I think they're a good person or not? No. Am I going to say that out loud? Probably not. But I mean, that will dictate how much trust I'm going to have to work with this person to help whatever bad situation that we're dealing with. So, I mean, like I said with Martin Luther King, content and character, sometimes people get strayed from that with um, the peer pressure, people around them. Maybe they just have a group of people that they're surrounded by. Maybe it's a drug problem. Maybe they're doing bad things in life because they're protecting their substance abuse. Whatever it is, you should analyze it for what it is. If you want to bring up, what happened 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and then weaponize it against people, that's just divisive. That's something that I want no part of. I've been learning grace a lot in the past couple years, and it's really helped me a lot. Just having grace for humanity, having grace for human beings individually. It's important. It's really, really important to have.
And it's hard. It's hard to have grace.
Super hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's easy to be quick to judge. It's easy to, it's easy to make the easy decision. Hard choices, making hard decisions usually mean extra work, extra time, extra frustration. But if you go through that and you're positive when you get through the end of it, spread it, keep making those connections and keep trying to spread real peace and real love. Even when it's really, really difficult to do so. And it took me forever to figure that out. I mean, it took me 40 years to figure out grace and humility and just actually listening. It's like
Listening is a
I hope
teaching.
my wife thinks I actually listen now, because 10 years ago I don't think I was listening to anything she was saying.
I get it.
I look back, it's like you're in sin or something. It's like, oh no, I wasn't listening to you.
And you haven't even been married that long. Wait, I think we're
a decade. I'm getting there.
I'm at 28 years now.
Oh
man, it's
I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
It's like your arm. I couldn't live without my wife because it'd be like living out without my arms or something. It's yeah, I couldn't even imagine that. And then when I say that 28 years, wow, that's a long damn time. I need a drink.
Yeah.
That's
So what are you doing for your 30th anniversary? That's 3 decades.
me and my wife have never been anyone who gets into those celebrations. I don't know why. We're just not sentimental that way. We knew each other. We went out for a week and we got married in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And most people, they know each other for years before they get married and they have these big weddings. No, we spent under $250, and a portion of that was to fix the car's fan that broke on the way there. But no, we didn't have enough money to do the Elvis wedding, which would have been cool. But we did.
Well, they say the smaller the diamond, the higher percentage chance that it's going to work.
Truly agree with that. We've built a really good life with each other, and we've been fairly successful in what each of us has done. I think it saddens me when I watch people get married, especially people in their early 20s, and they've got a $40,000 wedding to
Yeah.
pay for. It's
Yeah.
wow, I don't, and that's at the low end. When I hear what some of these people are paying for weddings, I'm thinking,
Yeah.
honey, I would have to divorce you at that cost.
Well, my wife wanted to get married on a boat, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be horrible." And we got out the
Yeah.
door for $3,500. So I'm like, that's not that bad."
Nice. That's not bad. Actually, that's not bad. And
Yeah.
and if you plan it right, you can get the captain to marry you, I think. So
I
is
think
that
we
what
did.
happened? Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I think that is what happened. Let me
So,
see. Might have a picture. Yep, the captain's in the background. Let me see if you can see that. Oh, where's
oh, nice. Yeah.
there's
Very
reflection.
cool.
If you can see the captain, he's like under a thing, so you can't see it in the shadow.
Very cool. Very cool.
That's funny.
One of the things you started out talking about was, and I thought this was interesting because I don't remember any parking meters on the street where we go to that restaurant and meet all the time. What was that? 40 North
Was that
40, right?
Bricks? Oh, North
Yeah.
40. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember any parking meters. Where are the parking meters, and why do you guys got what? How did that come about? That just seems like weird.
So you usually came on the weekends, and I don't think they monitor them on the weekends.
Okay.
I don't. Well, maybe they do on Saturday. I'm not 100%. I will know soon. But
Good.
they have a car. They have a little Prius that drives around, and it electronically tags your car. And then if it drives around during a certain time period and your car is still in the same place 2 hours later, it's just boom, it just electronically prints out a ticket and mails it to you. It's like all automated.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I
And
bet
it
that
gets
pisses people off.
worse. Your first one is like $10. Next one's like, I don't know, $15 or something. And then the next one I think is like, you're not paying attention. Like it exponentially goes up in cost the more times you do it.
Yeah.
So but it was a common conversation when people were down there that like, well, I already got two and I don't want to get that third one.
And it's funny, I can't remember seeing the meter. So I'm glad it doesn't happen on the weekends because
It's
I
a
would have
Prius.
got totally busted.
The meter like did a Transformers thing and turned into a Prius.
Ah, nice. Nice. Yeah. They just did the same thing in North Bend where they bought a speed camera, and now on certain streets they're going to have the speed camera, and if you're caught speeding, they're going to ticket you. And is that going on in the city here? Is that happening in Roseburg?
No, it's not that advanced. But it's crazy when I go up to Beaverton, Portland. We go up every couple months. It's crazy to me how much it's like iRobot up there. It's like every major
Yeah.
intersection has the cameras, and it's it just doesn't feel
Well,
like
what do you
real.
think of that? You're going to be on the city council. You think that's a good idea to go through this technological archipelago kind of coverage of all 24/7? The big brother is watching you and giving you tickets punitively. I don't know. What is your thoughts on that?
I mean, I do see good and bad with camera systems. I think I see more bad than good. I mean, obviously, if a crime was committed and you can pull the tape from a business or something, that's a great thing. But no, I don't like any of the photo sensor catches speeding stuff. I don't like parking ticket. I mean, to me, all that's anti-welcoming. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think of. Every time I go up to Portland, I'm like, I don't ever want to go up to Portland again because I don't want to deal with I'm going too fast through a traffic light. I'm going, there. You understand the game when you live there, but for
Right.
somebody to not understand the game and then get punished for it, it's like that's not a tourist spot. That's not a place that people want to go visit. That's not. It's like, oh, let's go out and do a wine country thing in Roseburg. And then somebody in the group's like, no, last time I went out there, I got an $80 ticket for speeding or something.
Right.
Like we don't have that technology yet down here, but still, to me, that's the parking represents that. It's like, it should be, it shouldn't be, make money fund. It should be.
Because there's very few times
There's
I've been downtown Roseburg when there was a problem parking. It just seemed like it's, there are some people who just bitch if they have to.
frustration.
Well, there are people who are just bitch if they have to walk 50 feet. You know the type of people I'm talking about, and it's like,
I can't help those people.
park a little further down, you'll be fine, man. Yeah, and it's like you need to walk.
I'm going to be honest with them, and be like, well,
Yeah. And that's tough when you're in office too. But yeah, that's the best way to.
But that's your job duty, right? Field complaints, try to create a solution. I actually was a little disappointed because before I got onto the school board, I kind of got a small briefing of like the controversial stuff that's happened in the school district. And like you're possibly gonna have to deal with this or deal with that situation. One of them that was a big one was what we're gonna name the football field. And the community seemed like completely split, right? And it seemed like this anxiety ridden, like, oh, like what are we gonna do? Once we have to deal with this decision. I mean, to me, that's not super controversial, and that is something that I'd be willing to people like. I'm not scared I'm going to run away from that situation. Like it's your job if you're on the board to address a situation that splits the community or be there and talk to people. So to me, that's just, I don't know. It's like some people view it like, actual arrows coming in. I'm just like mosquito. It's not really like a super, I don't know. I think one thing that should be communicated to anybody that runs for a board position is people are going to be mad at you. They're going to unjustly hate you. They're going to unjustly accuse you of things. You're going to get a lot of unjust, unwarranted behavior. And you need to show grace and listen to them and then try to educate them and communicate to them and work with them. Like, if you can do that, then you'll be a great board member. And then understand that, there's like 6 other people that you kind of have this weird restraining order with, where you can't really talk to them too much. And if there's too many of you in one room, then people are like, and that could go bad. But, that's the nuts and bolts of it. But to me, it's the emotional compassion, passionate people in the community stuff where it's like, yeah, you need someone that's willing to listen to that person, even if, everybody else is, like, don't listen to that person or,
sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of the job description. And I've even talked to some of my board members on a Roseburg school board. I've just told them, I'm like, bring on the controversy, bring on issues that seem that we can't resolve them, bring them, like that's our job to address them.
I would be the same way. I want the hard work. I want to make those hard decisions because I don't want to pass the buck, because here's my chance. Here's my time to be able to convince the 6 other people I'm working with that this is the direction we should go. And that's part of really showing grace, and being a statesman, a true statesman who can sit there and find the objective center to hopefully convince people this is the way we should go. And that's a talent in itself. And that's why I think you're much more suited for this than a lot of people out there, because they are combative. They are looking for antagonistic views because it sells. It puts their name in the paper. It gives them a chance to call names and get political payback. And you'll see political payback all the time going on. This happens on every board. I mean, one board member will get mad at another, and so they, instead of doing what's best for whatever district they're in, they want to fight the person who's on the board with them. Right now, I've got Bob Main, who's running for commissioner, and me and Bob, and I always compare politics to like the boxing ring. When you get into the boxing ring, your job is to beat the hell out of the other guy, even if that other guy is your best friend, right? You know, that's your job. You're in the boxing ring and his job is to beat the hell out of you. And you accept that fact. And when you're out of the ring, the fight's over, it's done. We put away the gloves and there's no need to go into it any further because we had the match. And me and Bob Main we've been in the boxing ring where we've gone back and forth. And I mean, it's gotten really brutal. And yet here I am supporting him in his candidacy. In fact, I'm going to be picking up signs for him for Matt Robinson in the next couple of days. And
Oh,
it's,
nice.
yeah, you know, and it's people are going,
I got to pick up a couple of signs too. Maybe I should meet you down there.
oh, there you go. There you go.
Oh,
I
they're
love going down to the Robinsons.
It's like being in heaven when you're on their property. It's like I would like
Yeah.
expect a gazelle to like, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get it.
Whoa,
Yeah.
magical creature.
I
love that.
always worried. I've called Matt during the fire season a couple of times, and he goes, "Well, I'd like to take your order, but we're fighting a fire right now, Rob." Oh, sorry, man. Sorry.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I always,
They're a fantastic family. They truly
Yeah.
are incredible. They do everything themselves. I mean, yeah. I wouldn't doubt them out fighting a fire to protect their property on their own as a crew.
Yep. And they've got heavy machinery, so they can make really good fire barriers and and brakes and stuff. So, yeah, I really do enjoy going down there. But to get back to my point, you seem like someone who has the temperament to get along with people on the board, and I've seen people in. And I think it was on the City Council of Roseburg, where in the past, and it was over 10 years ago, you had a couple of city councilors who really went after each other on certain issues. I can't even remember the issue. I can just remember that they were going after each other. And like I said, so I guess you look at it as that doesn't benefit anyone to get into those type of arguments.
Yeah, no, basing your decisions on emotion or anger towards an individual on the board, I mean that's destructive board behavior 101. I don't even know. You know, honestly, people can be from all walks of life on a board, and you have to understand what the goal is, right? When I'm on the Roseburg School Board, the goal is the kids. Kids are
Yeah.
number one. What's best for the kids? And whatever I do, if I'm doing that out of personal interest, if I'm doing that out of self-interest or something that I want, then I no longer deserve to be on that board anymore. Every decision I make and every, hour that I work or paragraph that I read has to be, the spirit of that, the intention of that is to make a better learning environment for the kids, period. So it's sad. I mean, you should just recognize that if you're operating out of self-interest on a board, you shouldn't be there anymore. That's you're not being a servant. You're being a
Right.
self-serve individual, So
Yeah. I totally see that happen quite often. And boards devolve into that. And like you said, it'd just be best if you just leave. There's other boards to be on.
Yeah.
So I kind of got to get into your past and how it may affect your election and your chances of winning. You were part of the Roseburg Six that was recalled from the Republican Party just a couple of months ago. And like you said, the Roseburg in your district is probably made up of mostly conservatives. That kind of, and I don't know why people are going to look at it, because party infighting shouldn't be part of judging a person if they can do a job on a committee or not, is my opinion on that. Do you think that people are going to hold that against you, that you were voted off an executive committee in a party dispute against you becoming a city councilor? You think that's going to affect anything?
I think there's a particular group of people that have a self-interested motive to do ill towards me. I think that group of people is pretty small. And honestly, I don't think the public really understands what's going on. And to be fair, I didn't really either until I started getting involved.
Right.
And then, the more you get pulled in, the more you get pulled in. It just kind of it's one of those things where it was just, you keep getting pulled more into the issues. And then unfortunately for someone like me, if I say there's an issue to be dealt with, how are we going to deal with this? And I have an elected official come to me and say, you're not going to deal with that. That's not your job. Why don't you stop talking about it? That doesn't stop me.
Right.
That lights the fire. And then I'm like, whoa, uh-oh. We don't, and you start to like have the epiphany of, we have people that are not operating as servants, they're operating as self-interested individuals. And then you're just like, oh no. But the tough part is most of the public doesn't really understand
Yeah.
the inner workings of what's actually going on and the problems that we actually have. I mean, they see the problems, they see the symptoms, right? But they never know how to treat the cancer. They see the, tampons in the little boy's bathroom, or they see the wind project, or they see measure 119.
Yeah.
And then they
Or no,
go,
measure one. It was measure 113 or 114. I forget which one's the gun one and which one's the drug one. You're talking about the drug one, right?
you're making my case for me. There's so many
Exactly.
measures and so many bills that are so bad.
Yeah.
And then they only ever, most people in the public only ever see the side effects. They see what happens, what the result of it is. Like the result of emergency funding for homeless is, where's the money going? There's 10 times more homeless. Like, and then you're just getting all of these symptoms, and then you never even understand what the illness is. So it was tough for the six of us, the Roseburg Six, as they call them. It was tough because we came in and we're like, we need to actually fix the root problems. And then the people that held the keys to fixing those problems were like, that's a bad strategy. And
Right.
so, I mean, in the end, it was really kind of, I'm never going to go away from addressing the issues. But if we have people in place that are, how do I phrase it? Allowing the issues to happen because, that's just how you play the game. I say no. I say, my personal opinion was, get a stable of people that are vetted, that we know are going to make the right decisions in Salem, right?
Right.
Get a stable of them, and we'll just have, a batting lineup. And when, we go and we say, no, we're not going to vote on any of this stuff that causes all this horrible stuff in the community, we're going to start making a statement. I felt like the public would say, oh, maybe the Republican Party's kind of like, gained their bearings, and they're saying common sense logic type stuff against these issues that are, causing issues in our community. I think a lot of people are turned away from the party because they want to do something. They see the symptoms, they see the side effects, they go in, and then the people that have, all the keys to all the doors go, well, you can only have one of these keys. And I don't even
Right.
know if I want to do that key. Like, what are you doing here? I've got my established seat at the table, and then they get frustrated and they eject, so, or you have our circumstance where they get frustrated and they're effective enough that the people in power Oedipus them out.
Right.
because
Right.
we're some sort of big threat or something, because we won't fold on issues. It's because we have issue-itis. I don't know.
I think they wanted to solve the problem by getting rid of the people who are acknowledging the problem, and
Right.
that's what they did. And I don't know if, in many ways, I would take it personally, because that's just, I think it was wrong. It was totally wrong, but I wouldn't take it so personally, because I think it was just that they wanted to get rid of the people who were acknowledging the problem without working on the hard job of solving the real issue.
Well, they don't want to self-sacrifice, right?
No.
I mean, you see a lot of situations here where our elected representatives make decisions based on re-election.
Yeah.
And that's my whole thing. And I've explained this to a lot of people. I actually had a couple people ask me, like, well, what if you lose the city council race? I said, well, then I run for something else. No big deal.
Right.
And they're like, well, you're not going to be upset, or you're not going to be. I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm giving the community an option. You know, if the community wants me to be in that position or they have trust in me, great, I'll go do the job. If they don't, then I'll find something else to do. You know, it's not that really, I think if our elected officials could operate under that concept
Yeah.
of, oh, I'm going to hold the line, and if the state pushes down something crazy on our community, I'm going to hold the line. And if I don't, I'm not able to run again, you know, like what happened to Art Robinson, what happened to Linthicum.
Right.
You know, Art Robinson, the Robinsons did a fantastic thing. They
Yes,
went,
they did.
oh, Art can't run, there's Noah. You know, like, what are you going to create some legislation to say that nobody in my family can run? I mean, and I've seen stuff like that talked about in the party, and I mean, it's rough. You know, if I was to be elected to a position like a House position or a Senate position, and I got in there, and they're just like, if you don't fold on this, you're not going to get reelected, and I would just say, well, then I'm not going to get reelected. You know, it's my
Thank
job
you.
not to fold this. I'm an elected representative, which means I'm a representative of the people that elected me. And I know they wouldn't fold on this issue, so I'm not folding on this issue. And then we figure out who else to put in the slot. You know?
And I think that gives you credence to when you say you're not a politician, because the politicians, a real politician has two jobs: to get elected and then to get reelected. That's really what politicians do today. That's why you see like people like Pelosi, Schumer, McConnell up there in office, who stay up there in office until they're old, decrepit people who can barely walk and talk anymore, because they're so afraid to give up that power that they're willing to sacrifice the people that they represent.
Clutching the pearls.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right term to use for that. Actually, I don't know. Well, I guess if the pearls are their reelection, they're clutching them. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, they are. And so that's good to hear that you would rather sacrifice your position or your so-called political career, which also proves that you're not a politician. You would be willing to sacrifice that political career to make a stance on what's right over doing what is expedient for the party or for the people who are trying to pressure you into going against your beliefs. And we see that all the time happening everywhere.
Yeah, well, I'd also understand that it would be my duty to find somebody like me to fill the seat. You know?
Yeah.
It's, you know, you can't just go, oh, I'm going to die a hero and then leave it all to waste. You know, like you have to understand, you know, if you're going to go into politics and you're going to go into the House or the Senate or whatever it be, you have to understand that, you know, there's hills to die on. You got to draw out lines in the sand. I mean, it just has to happen. So, you know, the minute that you're operating out of fear of not getting reelected or fear of anything, you know, I mean, I had one of my friends go, well, what if they threaten your children? And I was like, well, I think I would have had the conversation before I decided to run that there's a possibility that people could threaten my family. And if my family wasn't good with that, then I wouldn't do it. If my family was okay with that, then I'd do it. And then the decision was already made a while ago. You know, it's not like I'm now going to make a decision out of fear because I don't know about, you know, I'm trying to protect their safety, or, you know, like they always use, you know, I mean, they use that in the pandemic big time.
Yep.
You know, safety, rip your rights away, safety, rip your rights away. You know, it's just, it's nuts.
I used to get quite a few death threats over the years, and it got to the point where I just stopped telling my wife because I didn't want to bother her. But she and my family were, I guess it's part of being Irish. You know what I mean? We're just, screw you. We're gonna get our face shoved in the dirt anyway. Yeah, so we're Celts, you know what I mean? We'll strip down to the bears and fight you to the death. That's the kind of.
I'm a wee bit Irish, just a wee bit.
Yeah. And so, but that's part, and I go back to that boxing analogy, is that you got to be willing to fight the fight to even get into the ring, because there are people who say, well, don't even get into the ring. Don't run for office if you know that you're probably not going to be but one termer, because you're going to do the right thing. It's going to be unpopular. But to me, you lose when you take that position. You lose if you say, well, I'm not even going to participate because I might lose. That's the true loser. You don't lose if you say, I'm going to go into the ring, and if I get my ass kicked, I didn't really lose because I got into the fight. You know what I mean? And that's the important part, is being able to fight the fight.
Well, we there's a small faction of us in Roseburg that have been back on the mat getting pummeled, and we're still swinging into the air, and it's like, sorry, we're never going to stop swinging. If it's the Constitution, if it's America at stake, we're not going to stop swinging. We'll never stop swinging. The only way to stop us is to kill us. I mean, that's it. Protect freedom, protect the Constitution, protect our civil liberties.
I would love to talk to your opponent about that, because I don't know what her position is or her relationship with the local Republican Party is compared to yours. And I would love to hear hers, what her opinion is on what you just talked about, because a lot of politicians, they'll speak in circles and you never know what the hell they're saying. It's like, it was a yes or no question, and I'm still not confused.
Well, I feel like I did that on a couple of your questions, so I
got that's all right.
Guys, anyways.
It happens, and that's just part of the statesmanship. But I'll tell you what's nice about you, Steve, is I work with a lot of politicians, and you don't come across as a sleazy car salesman type politician. You know what I mean? You're not.
Well, I'm not a politician.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. You're not coming across like that. I mean, I was even kind of disappointed in the debate, because I thought even Donald Trump kind of came off as we're just going to give you a couple of platitudes instead of real answers. And I thought Kamala was totally that. This is because everything she said was contradictory to the way she's run the country in the last 4 years anyway. And so you're being lied to. So it's nothing but cheesy platitudes to drive up your core base of supporters, and you're just talking to a car salesman who's going to tell you what they think you want to hear so that they can sell you the damn car. And you don't come across as that, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Have you seen that reel that's been going around where Harris basically said there's not a single active duty military personnel person in a war zone right now? I think it's essentially what she said. Have you seen that one?
Wow. No.
So she says that, and it's like it's a camera, or it's a phone on a TV, and then it turns around, and there's a soldier sitting down, and he goes, "Well, where the heck are we then?" And then it starts to pan around to all the soldiers around him, and they're all rolling and laughing and spitting their food out.
Yeah.
Like, well, if that's the case, what am I doing?
Yeah, what am I doing here? Well, that's the old term, and I've heard it at least a dozen or so times in my lifetime. No boots on the ground. You don't have to worry. We have no boots on the ground. And the first time I heard it, I believed it. But by the time a third time I heard it, I said, wait a minute, no boots on the ground. That literally means we've had boots on the ground for the last year, and they've been very active in whatever, war or police action or whatever they want to call it, that's happening in other places of the world, which is nice for you. You're going to be on the city council. You don't have to worry about any of those things right now. So that's
how the election goes. But I do, when people, because I have talked to a couple of my neighbors, and one of my neighbors was, his thing was like, why can't Trump just talk like Obama, right? And I was kind of like, I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. But let me put that into context, right? So you're basically, because I usually say the policy that my favorite policy that Trump had was the policy on creating peace, right? Since he was the only president that we had that wasn't, at war. But I don't know. In my mind, I was sad because I'm talking to someone that can't really wrap their head around the fact that they think that they have the luxury, like it's a first world type problem.
Yeah.
but I kind of returned the communication saying, well, what do you think of Obama running our country out of bombs? You know, do you think all the deaths and destructions those bombs caused are worth, you know, lack of mean tweets?
Yeah.
And I saw his gears kind of like cranking around a little bit, and he was kind of like, oh, so I want somebody that sounds nice at the cost of bloodshed. You know?
Yeah. And
So
and
it's hard because a lot of people, I mean, I was one of those people 5 years ago,
yeah.
politically illiterate, you know, like I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't get it. And if all I got was listening to mainstream media and saying, well, he sounds good, you know, I'm at where I'm at. You know, now I'm in the unfortunate path to persecution, but you know, Jesus was staked to a cross, so I think I'm doing pretty good.
You're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good. And to be quite honest with you, I think the non-affiliated voters are some of them, a good portion of the non-affiliated voters, the reason they're non-affiliated is because they've been disenfranchised either by the Democrats or by the Republicans. And that's why they're now non-affiliated with any party. And that's why I think this, whatever has happened to you in a party situation with what recently happened, you know, with you getting the vote to get kicked off the executive committee, would actually be a bonus to anyone who's non-affiliated. And anyone who doesn't know, the non-affiliated category of voters is larger than either of the parties.
Oh yeah, way bigger. It's huge. You know, and I honestly I didn't bring that up earlier. I did have somebody that recognized me that I gave signs out to today, and they put them out in front of their business. That was super cool. High traffic area. I was like super appreciative. But he treated it like a badge of honor.
Nice.
He's like, "Oh, you're one of those people that got shoved out the door." He's like, "Righteous."
Well,
And I was
remember
like,
that.
"Oh, I'm glad you're taking it that way."
Yeah, because you're in a business, so yeah, it's even better.
Well, yeah, that's why I don't get to. There's plenty of businesses in town I'd like to walk up and be like, "Hey, could we like sit down and have coffee for 20 minutes and then maybe talk about putting my sign up?"
Yeah.
It's the same way with church too. It's you feel the need for those particular people to get involved because they have an opportunity to make an impact.
Yes.
The problem is, you know, they're risking a lot.
Mhm.
And I don't feel like it's unless somebody's like passionate and like, yeah, you know, like I'm on board with you. I don't think it's right to put someone in a situation where it's like, you know, you're risking your livelihood because of, you know,
Well, that's,
a
you know,
non-paid position.
what they in churches though, they're always afraid of losing that their tax-free status for their church. And I always thought it was ironic that in a country that basically fought a revolution against higher taxes, we're now using property tax or the property tax system to silence people in the Christian community. And that's just weird considering where we came from. You know what I mean? That just blows my mind.
Yeah, that's sad.
It is sad. It is very sad. Well, Steve, before I get you out of here, I want to thank you for coming on. And
Sure.
because I'm very controversial, and anyone who comes on the show, you risk getting that taint. You know what I mean? So I appreciate it.
know where your heart is. You're a good dude.
Thank you, man. And that's why I fully endorse you. I support you. I think you're going to be a good city councilor. When you win, I think you're going to win. I think people are going to say we need someone new in office, and you're going to have a great time of doing it. Then we can
Well, I
call you
appreciate it.
Councilman Steve, and I can come up there and harass you. That would be wonderful. We'll get you on the
You're welcome
council.
for
and-
asking me.
I told Noah Robinson the same thing. You're one of the few people left that I can actually go sit in your office and talk to. So it's nice to have those friends. But I do want to thank you, and I think you, like I said, your personality is just well suited for working on something well, like you did with the school board, but with the city council, because it's moving up that food chain. And it's very important that Christians, because you are a Christian man, get involved, because I think they're totally unrepresented in many areas. I think it's important that because you're a family man from a nuclear family, which I never understood that term. It's just a family. It's a mom, a dad. You know what I mean? Just like we all grew up with at one point in time, and it's good that you're there to represent those type of people, because I still think you're the majority. I think you're the Christians, the nuclear family. They're still the silent majority, and it's sad that they're losing representation in all kinds of places. So it's good that
I do want to note that I have talked to a couple atheists lately.
Mhm.
And first thing out of my mouth every time I find out they're an atheist is I say, I don't judge you, and I'm not going to preach to you. I'm like, if you want to ask me about it, I'm willing to have the conversation. But you're an American. You can choose whatever religious affiliation that you want to choose, and I have to respect it because that's who I am. So it's religion's done great things for me. It's been rough, real rough for me early in my life, but it's really brought me a lot of peace.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So I don't like to preach to people, but I always, because I know those people out there that go, they start hearing the religion talk. They're like, it's like, get away from me.
I always tell, and I'm an atheist, and I have atheist friends out there, and I always tell them, well, you're not a vampire. You're just an atheist. The cross really won't hurt you.
Somebody's on the other side of the fence. You can still talk to them.
Oh, totally.
They might even think you're a good person. You don't know.
Yeah, and at least you're nice about it. My grandmother would say, "Oh, well, dear, it's okay if you want to burn in hell for the rest of eternity. That's perfectly fine if you want to do that, but I'm going to live forever in heaven." And there you go. And I used to love that. And it was like, keep it up, Grandma. You know what I mean?
I'm on a cloud of judgment, and I'm going to pray for you. Oh, man.
But this has been a great time. I really enjoyed it. Anything you want to say before I get you out of here?
No, I'm good. I got to go. I got screaming kids I got to go chase around.
I'm sure they're hungry or something. You know how they are. So.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, you take care, man. And real quick, what's your website? Because I forgot to get it posted.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
WeNeedSteve.com.
WeNeedSteve.com. That is a really good name, because, even I think that was the name of your committee, wasn't it? Your political action committee?
Yeah. And you can see it's on my sign in the back.
Yeah. That was a good idea, because I saw the political action committee. I went over to Orstar to see if you were registered, and it was we need Steve, and I thought that's so much better than the Friends of, or one of those fruity things.
Again, I can't take credit. It's people much smarter than me that are giving me ideas.
Good deal. It's a good one. That was a good one. Well, you take care, man. Okay.
You, brother.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right.
Talk
Bye-bye.
to you, brother. All right. Bye.
And that was Steve Hammerson, and I really enjoyed that conversation. And I'm wishing him the best of luck, because I think he's a good man, and I think he will do good in the city. And I know how, and we talked about this, those political infighting, that most people don't understand it. They don't know what's going on inside the party. And I think in the end, it's really going to benefit him to be seen as a renegade, someone who's willing to take a stand on principle over being a pragmatic politician. And we've got a lot of pragmatic politicians who will use pragmatism to justify bad decisions. And so is it really pragmatic or not? And that's my argument when I get into politicians. They go, well, Rob, you're always about principle. You're never going to get anywhere unless you don't compromise. And I see compromise a lot of times as a bad thing. But you have to do it in politics. That's just the way it is, especially like we were just talking with Steve and anyone else who is on a board. He's on a school board right now, but anyone who's on a board, they have to learn how to compromise, how to work with people and get the best deal. And that's why people don't understand why a lot of us support Donald Trump. We think that he's a man who's been in we know he's a man who's been in the real world, who's dealt with unions, who's had to dealt with other developers and the competition and create and build these tremendous businesses. I mean, he's a billionaire. The guy's a billionaire. And you don't get that kind of money without making the tough decisions. And you sometimes have to take risk. You can't always be pragmatic. And it's a balancing act. And that's why, it's hard for guys like that to work within a committee, because they have been making those decisions on their own, based on their instinct, based on their knowledge, and based on their best know-how. So I think Steve is, he's also someone who he works in the free market. He's not someone who comes from working in a bureaucracy, someone who comes from working inside government. He's not someone who's an insider. He's not part of the establishment, and that's what's best about that. And I think we need, the lady he's running against is been in there for 8 years, I think is what he said. 8 years is long enough. 8 years is plenty. No one should serve in any one position more than 8 years. I wouldn't want Donald Trump in office as president more than 8 years. And that's why it's good that he picked a pretty solid vice presidential candidate in Vance, J.D. Vance, because if he does win, if Donald Trump does win, if they don't completely steal the election and he wins, I truly believe that J.D. Vance is going to reap the rewards of Donald Trump's victory going on into the 28 election. That would be 2028. And I think that would benefit him immensely, especially if we could get Donald Trump back in there, get producing some oil, get the energy going. And I'm not talking about this wind energy crap that they're trying to push on us here in Oregon. I'm talking about real energy that comes from petroleum, natural gas, things like that. That's what the coal, that's nuclear. I'd love to see some small nuclear reactors tried out in different areas. I mean, really, if it's a very small, it's amazing what they can make nuclear reactors the size of my couple of my rooms right here in my house. They're not very big at all. I mean, they put them on submarines, and there are a lot of things that need to be tried, and it takes a person who's willing to buck the system to try that. And hopefully Steve will be one of those people. I know Steve will be one of those people. So check that out. He's running for the Roseburg City Council, position 2, Ward 2, position 2. And I have no idea what that refers to. When you get into a city, you run for a position inside the ward that has other positions inside of it. And I can't remember exactly how the system is, because it's been a while since I lived in a big city. But we don't have that problem way out here in rural America. I still love living in rural America. It's a wonderful thing. And I appreciate all of you for tuning in. It's been an interesting conversation that I just had with Steve. And I want to remind you guys that we are having a meeting. This is going to be a well attended, very much talked about meeting that's happening here in Coos County by the Board of Commissioners, who have a work session scheduled with Dr. Douglas Frank taking on Professor Justin Grimmer over our election integrity issues. And it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be incredible, because Douglas Frank he has a tremendous mind. He's very intelligent, and he knows how to argue the point. And this is going to be happening at the Owen Building in Coquille, Thursday, October 10th at 9:30 a.m. So please, if you get a chance, I recommend you guys show up for that. But I do want to tell you that there is a Board of Commissioners meeting happening Tuesday. And the one thing that I saw on the agenda that's going to be interesting is they're going to be joining a lawsuit with Douglas County. Douglas County is paying for it. And the lawsuit is once again on the timber issue. And so I recommend, if you get a chance, head out to that meeting that's happening 9:30 a.m. this Tuesday, tomorrow, September 17th. And that's in the Owen building as well. And those of you who live in Coos Bay, the Coos Bay City Council at 500 Central Avenue, they're having their city council meeting 6 p.m. Tuesday, September 17th. So, hey, if you live in Coos Bay, you can, in the morning, you can head over to over to Coquille and catch the Coos County Commissioners. And then in the evening, you can hit up the Coos Bay City Council and cause all kinds of problems. That's one thing you could do, I suppose. They're also having a meeting tonight at the Bandon City Council at 7:00 at Bandon City Hall. And if you can't find Bandon City Hall, then I don't know. You might be a really confused person, but it's right here in the middle of Bandon on 101. It's on 555 Highway 101, and it says City Hall on it with big letters. Big letters says City Hall. You can't miss the damn thing. And if you do, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you shouldn't be driving. Just a thought there. Let's see. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, hell, this is a good one. That's a good one. This is the coming America if Kamala Harris wins. If Kamala wins, this is the America you can get used to. They're going to beat the band. They're going to go completely full bore with their Marxist revolution that's going on right now. And so Kamala Harris, this is her goal. This is what she lives for, to turn this entire nation into, well, a communist shithole. And hopefully she's not successful with that. And hopefully we get Trump in there. Before I get out of here, I want to say thank you to my sponsors, 3H Tree Service. If I watched one of their videos from 3H Tree Service on Facebook. And I'll tell you what, I watched the young man who was handling the chainsaw. I mean, he went through this tree like it was butter. I mean, this guy. I was going to ask Matt if he came on here. I was trying to get him on at the first part of the show, but I was going to ask him how many times they have to go out and sharpen their chain on their chainsaw, because this kid was just impressive. I call him a kid. He's probably in his mid-20s, but I mean, he took out this tree like nobody's business. It was really cool. And that's what they do at 3H Tree Service. They remove those problem trees with surgical precision. And so if you want to get good service and take out some problem trees in your yard, maybe you've got a lot of shrubbery that's you need to get off your back fence or something. That's what they did for my mother-in-law. They did a really good job. They cut back a lot of the laurel and other trees that were back there just growing into her fence. Well, 3H Tree Service can take care of all that. 541-294-1800. Once again, that's 541-294-1800. Talk to Matt. He can set you up and take care of all your needs, all your tree service needs. He can take care of. Once again, that's 541-294-1800. And like I said, you got to go check out those videos on 3H Tree Services Facebook page by the same name. And of course, Tim over at Tom and Gigs is on vacation. He went to Idaho and he's not going to be back until next week. And he says he'll be on the show next week. I just saw him just a couple of days ago, and I couldn't believe that Tim actually got 10 days off, or he's taking 10 days off, because that man never stops working. Every time I see him, that man is always working. So he's going to stop the he's going to go out in Idaho for the next 10 days. And so he took a vacation, which is a wonderful thing. But if you need some of those automotive needs taken care of, you need a RC car, you need some tannerite, you need a light bar, a rail for your car. They can take care of all that stuff. You need a muffler, you need to get your tires aligned, he can take care of you. Tim over at Tom and Gigs, it's 135 South Shoneman, right behind the car wash. That's 135 South Shoneman behind the car wash. You can catch them at 541-888-4660. Tim over at Tom and Gigs. And Herbal Choices, you got any of those herbal needs? You need some chewables. They got some really neat chewables and CBD oil. They got a lot of neat stuff over there that they can take care of all your herbal needs. If you have some herbal needs, they got Herbal Choices for you. And Herbal Choices is a wonderful place to go because they're well-lit stores with well-lit parking lots, and they're bud tenders. That's what they call the people behind the counter. They're bud tenders. They're always very pleasant and very knowledgeable. And remember to give them a nice little tip. You know what I mean? That it's not like they're working for millions, but they're happy to work there. You'll always get a service with a smile. So always remember to tip your bud tender over there at Herbal Choices. They're doing a great job. For anyone who's ever been over there, I've heard nothing but good things about them. I know every time I've gone to an Herbal Choices, it's been a great experience. They have 5 of them in the area. They have one south of Bandon. They have one on Coos Bay, one in North Bend, and one in Reedsport. All 4 of those are on Highway 101. And you can find one in Charleston. Really good store there too. Just as many choices over there as anywhere else. And you can get all those herbal needs taken care of with Herbal Choices. Herbal Choices Cannabis Dispensary. And let's see, Oregon Firearms Federation. I highly recommend, if you want to back a good group that's fighting for your Second Amendment rights. I nearly called them a political group. Kevin would smack me if he heard me say that. No, they're not a political group. They are a bunch of activists. The Kevin is one hell of an activist who's been fighting for our Second Amendment rights for a long time in Oregon Firearms Federation. He's the director of Oregon Firearms Federation. He's been doing a bang-up job, no pun intended, at keeping our Second Amendment rights in line, in check with the Constitution. And it's one of the few groups who actually takes many of these laws that are coming out of the legislature or measures that have been passed on the ballot. We've challenged those laws. We've taken them to court. We're still in court. We're taking on Measure 114. Yeah, I figured out which one 114 was. That's the gun one. 113 was the drug one. Like I said, there's too many damn measures. Who can remember them all? But they're still fighting to kill Measure 114 in the courts, and they're still trying to kill House Bill 2005, which, if you own an unserialized gun, you're now a criminal. I don't know what the hell's the matter with the people in the legislature. And thanks to a bunch of turncoat Republicans and a bunch of crazy Marxist leftists, a lot of people in Oregon have become criminals because they own unserialized guns. And that's how this country was founded before we were a country, because the people who fought for this country used unserialized guns they made, the rifles that they made themselves. Those muskets, a lot of them were crafted by the blacksmith and craftsmen here in the States to fight against the British. And we should be very thankful that those people, well, they said, screw the monarchy, and we want our rights. And so let's keep fighting for that. And one group that's fighting for it is Oregon Firearms Federation. Go to OregonFirearms.org for more information. And please consider giving them a donation. They do a really bang-up job for this. They're not my sponsors, but I like to promote them. Bandon Gun Club. You can find out more about the Bandon Gun Club at bandongunclub.org. Or if you'd rather, Tioga Sports Park. If you want to sight in your telescope on your rifle, go to Tioga Sports Park. You can find out more at tiogasportspark.org. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I'm not sure who I'm going to have on the show coming up this Friday. I got a few guests lined up. Once again, I'm still working. I'm going to be doing a recorded show with Craig Rucker. I've got the Libertarian candidate who's coming on, and a couple of other candidates who've decided on the Rob Taylor Report and talk about the office that they're running for. And that's what I try to do this time of year. We try to get as many candidates on as we can so that you get to know who's running for office and why you should vote for them, or maybe why not. Not everyone that I have on the show or someone that I agree with. There are people who are still brave enough to come on the show and answer the questions. I might not like their answers. I might not agree with their policies, but at least they have the cojones to get into the ring and fight it out. It's a beautiful thing. So we'll get some more of those people on there. There's not a lot of people on the left who's willing to come on a show where they're actually going to be challenged for what they believe and what they're espousing. But what the hell? That's what I do. Let's see. Measure 110 is the drug one. 113 is the absence one. Is that measure 110? Maybe it was measure 110. Yeah, I think you're right. See, there's too many damn measures. Too many damn laws, and it makes for a confused populace. You get too many laws, and you're always gonna be breaking some law. That's the problem. I'm willing to bet that I've probably broken 3 or 4 federal laws since I woke up this morning. That's because there's too many damn laws in this country, and I'd like to see a couple of them go away. Not because I want to destroy the justice system. I just want some of our freedoms back where they belong, to the people who are truly law-abiding citizens and don't want to have to be forced to obey unconstitutional laws. Because if you're law-abiding, that's what you do. You try to obey every law because you're a good person, and the government, they will always use your good nature against you by passing really bad laws and then telling you, oh, well, it's a law, you have to follow it. Well, slavery was a law. Do you want to go back to that? You go ask some of the brothers. I don't think they want to go back to slavery being a law. So just because something's a law doesn't mean it's just, doesn't mean it's right. And so, we'll have those conversations later on. Like I said, I'm not sure who's coming on Monday, but I hope you tune in. I hope you tune in Friday night. And until then, folks, you know what I always say? Carry on, Coos County. Carry on.